Hey Terence.
Hey Julius.
Okay, first of all, thanks for joining me here with Coffee at Bushiroad series.
No problem.
You are the first of all our interviewees. Well, and there's a reason for that. Then that's because I think a lot of people have seen you in a lot of videos as well, especially for Buddy Fight channel, which you frequently appear. Well, along with me. So, and the another reason is because Terence you have been with us for about 9 years now.
Yes.
So I think you're probably one of the veterans, if not like the person with the most experience number of years in Bushiroad right now.
That's true.
Yeah. So I'm very excited to ask you a bit about the kind of work that you do here with Bushiroad, mainly your current position, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you are a senior development executive.
Yes, that's
and can you tell us a bit of the things that you have to do as someone in your role?
Okay, not only senior development executive, I'm also a team leader, as you know, for Buddy Fight, and our viewers also know. My job comprises mostly of product management, as well as marketing advisory role. So it's like, main part of the job is of course products. We can't have a card game without the products going out. So most of it is scheduled around product management, designs, translations, and basically making sure that the product goes out on time.
So I guess as team leader, you kind of have to manage everything and not just the product.
Yes.
Developing the product is like one aspect of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our development mostly central around localization. So
Okay.
Japan has their main product first, then we take the same product and try to localize it for the English-speaking community.
Okay. But so just for the record, localize would mean to translate into English for the international products. Yeah. So could you tell us more about how you would go about localizing a product? Like probably take us briefly through the steps from the very beginning and to the end when it's actually printed.
Well, basically, Japan needs to have their product ready first. Then we just take the designs, the translation, as in the text that they have, and do translations. Okay, then pass it to our designers. Designers put everything into what you see today as a card. Then we take the design, have it sent to the factory. Factory produces everything, including the packaging, such as the pillow pack, which we call pillow because the packs look like a pillow.
And although like you made it sound like very easy, like from translating to printing, I know for a fact that it's not.
You have done some products.
Yeah, I know
before.
for a fact it's not, because you kind of like split into 3 major categories. But I know it's gonna be definitely a lot more work than that.
Yeah, that was just a general description of how it is. But of course, there's many detailed steps along the way.
Definitely. So during the course of your translating and stuff, what do you think is the toughest thing about translating Japanese into English?
Oh, they have a lot of very Japanese-centric puns. Those are the worst things you can come across if your command of the Japanese language is not as good.
What do you mean by that?
They have certain puns or play on words that central around the Japanese culture. So if you were to do a localization, you try to look for something in the English language that is equivalent. You cannot just translate the entire thing as it is. If you do, a lot of players won't get what it's trying to say because they are not that into the Japanese culture. So they will just be, it's just another flavor text, it's just another name.
They might not even get it as it's supposed to be a joke.
Yes.
Because that cultural difference just doesn't get through.
Yes.
To the Western side, I suppose, definitely. So that would be the toughest thing for you as a translator.
That would be one of the most challenging. Toughest is when there's a lot of problems along the way that would cause the release date to derail. Yeah, then you have to do whatever you can to keep this production schedule back on track. Sometimes that's one of the toughest things, is meeting deadlines. When everything doesn't go your way. If everything is smooth, it's perfectly fine.
So that would be more on the production side rather than just the translating side now.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of obstacles on the translating side, and then you also have obstacles on the production side. Yeah. So there's a lot of deadlines to meet.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's definitely tough, and I can relate to that. Okay. Then what's the most rewarding thing about your work?
Seeing players use your product in a tournament, major or small. Sometimes you just go to a card shop and people are playing with the cards and you say, hey, that's the latest release. Then you'll be like, oh, are they using? Are they having fun with it?
Okay.
If they are really making a ruckus and just generally having fun, that's the most rewarding thing for a developer.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I suppose when you go and visit card shops or maybe in tournaments and you see that card on the table and you're like, then it brings you back, to the memories of you translating that, maybe in the office. Oh, I have problems with this certain pun, this certain joke.
Right. Or that card was changed last minute. We had to make all the arrangements just to make it proper by the time the product is released. They go like, oh, I remember that one.
All right. So, okay, maybe you can tell us what's your most memorable product that you have done so far? Like, probably the one that maybe gave you the most trouble, or maybe you had the most fun.
Limited only to Buddy Fight, or because
it could be anything. You have 9 years worth of experience here with Bushiroad, and I understand you do other titles as well, such as Luck and Logic, and I think a bit of Weiss Schwarz as well.
In fact, I've actually handled every single English card game localization up to now.
Oh.
If I didn't start it, I would have participated in it at a certain point in time.
Okay.
In fact, most of the English card games, I think I was one of the starting members when they were doing the localization.
Also, like the first English product for every game, like probably BT01 or TD, the very first series, TD01, BT01, that would be all you.
Yes, except for Luck and Logic. Luck and Logic, I was already team leader by the time that started, so I only checked. I did not actually do the translations or the localization part.
Okay.
But other than that, yes, I started most of the English card games, Weiss Schwarz, Vanguard, Buddy Fight. Yeah.
All right.
And after that, once after starting the localization work and maybe the production work, once there are new staff on board, I will train them and then let them control the production. Then I'll move on to other projects, of course.
All right, that's cool.
Right. Okay. So along the way, as you can see, there's a lot of products that I've covered in these past 9 years or so. So you want me to narrow it down to one?
I mean, you can give us a few if you have. Like, this, whatever comes to mind would be your most memorable product.
Now, the most memorable one, I think it's a bit out of the ordinary. It's because it was English Weiss Schwarz, the Attack on Titan set.
Okay.
It was a big challenge for the English card game because the English version released 1 month before the Japanese version.
Okay, that's gonna be rare, right? Because usually it's gonna be Japan first, and maybe like 2 weeks or 1 month later, then we release the English version.
If at all, because Weiss Schwarz, we don't have all the titles in the English version. Sometimes it's due to copyright, sometimes it's due to the popularity of the set. Some sets will not sell as well outside of Japan because it's not as well known or as popular.
Yeah.
But Attack on Titan, that's a worldwide renowned title.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was given the instructions, English version is going to release 1 month before the Japanese version.
Okay.
And it's something that we have never done before for the English version.
Okay, I would say that's memorable.
Any English version. So it's like, what? Really? Was the first reaction.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't say it's impossible, but the logistics of it was that Japan will need to finalize every single data before I can work on any of the components.
Yes.
So the biggest risk of doing something before the Japanese version is that once you have finalized all the data, the factory is printing, if Japan makes any changes to the Japanese set, we will not get it in the English version. Yeah, it's the biggest risk of all.
Okay, so can I ask, why did they do something like this? Something so out of the norm. Like, what was the reason behind that?
From what I heard was that Attack on Titan was really popular overseas, so they decided, let's do something phenomenal for this set. The English version will come out before the Japanese one.
Okay, so simply it was just for the fans, like, oh, okay,
Yes.
it's super popular in the Western world as well. Then
Yes.
just get this out earlier than the Japanese version.
Yes, and it's something the fans can brag about in the English community.
Yeah.
Hey, we got ours before the Japanese set.
Yeah, because usually it's the other way around.
Yes. So even at this time, sometimes the simultaneous release is going to be quite difficult because of Japan's very short lead time for data, for designs. Overseas, we have a lot of logistics issues, considerations before we can actually send data for print, finalize all the data. So it's going to be a lot tougher.
Okay. So the schedule for this English Attack on Titan, how bad was it? Like how much of a rush were you in? Due to this sudden arrangement.
I can only say that for this particular set, it was a good thing at that time I was living in Tokyo, Japan, and working in the main office. Because at any point in time, I had to get up from my seat, run to the Weiss Schwarz team, the Japanese team in the office, and just discuss every single detail. At that time, I think we were one floor apart. If I remember correctly, we were one floor apart. We were definitely on different floors. My office was, I think, one floor higher than the Japanese Weiss Schwarz teams. So at any point I needed anything, it would be leave my seat, run all the way down, iron out all the details, get back to... No, somebody out there will say, why don't you just call downstairs? No, some things you need to iron out in detail and have all the details straight.
Yeah.
Because any single mistake there would cause the entire set to be different from the Japanese one.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing. So that's something that's manageable only because you were working in Japan at the time.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It is going to be very difficult, very challenging if we were to attempt the same thing.
And well, since you mentioned it, I understand you worked in Japan for a number of years. How many years was that?
5 or 6.
5-6 years.
Yeah.
So 5-6 years of your years working in 5-6 years out of 9 years working in Bushiroad. 5-6 years was in Japan.
Was in Tokyo, Japan. Yeah.
Tokyo. Wow.
Working out of the main office.
Okay. So I'm a little bit curious. What's the cultural working difference, in Japan and then in Singapore? Like, what's the main difference do you see?
It's more of the working culture, I think, and mostly because Japanese tend to be very polite. So the place is mostly quiet. It's a lot more quiet than any other office than I've seen so far. So and people tend to like to finish their work before they leave the office. So some employees tend to leave like 8-9 p.m. at night, just because they finish their work and then they prepare for the next day's work.
Okay.
So it's slightly different from overseas, where there are certain companies that, of course, once it's time to knock off, you go home.
So in Japan, a lot of people, they actually like stay up later than usual.
Yes, they normally stay back later just to finish up their work, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes you need time for family.
I guess you kind of like have to balance.
Yeah.
Some days you might have to stay because you have to stay, but maybe other days you can take it easier and then you just take it easier.
Also, just to dispel some rumors out there, that there's actually a rumor out there that says that Japanese companies, you don't leave earlier than your boss. No, that's just a rumor.
Probably from very long time ago.
It might have been a practice maybe long ago, but nowadays not so much.
Okay.
I mean, the boss sometimes leaves earlier than most of the staff, because sometimes they have maybe business dinners, business appointments, they need to talk to other companies or have their own appointments. So yeah, it's definitely not that true.
Do you have any kind of tips or advice for people who might want to do translating for a job? Like maybe they want to be a translator as well. Maybe they hope to be working for Bushiroad one day. Do you have any advice for the young ones out there?
Young ones.
Yeah.
If they are young ones, they are still a bit away. But for tips, all I can say is first you must get your Japanese language up to par. For that, you probably have to listen to music, watch shows. If you can, try practicing. If you're in a class, grab your classmates and just practice whatever language it is that you want to practice. Getting better at it is first priority. Then after that, practice a lot, I guess. Listening to music, watching shows, reading books, or even if you're starting out in Japanese, reading manga. That's one of the easiest ways. Go for the lower age mangas like Buddy Fight. We have Koro Comic. Yeah, the Japanese magazine. Just get a copy and just try to read whatever's in there. Then after that, JLPT, the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, pass, or if you can go all the way to level 1, that at least shows your employer that you have the skills.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary because as with any language, just being able to speak it, write it, it shows that you know the language, and then from people who know the language will know what level of proficiency you are at. So I guess it's just good to really just show it. I can do it.
It's just documentation that you know.
Yeah, because from what I know, I think Terence, you don't have any JLPT at all.
No.
And yet, everyone who needs help with Japanese in offices, they just go to you.
Yeah, because if you stay in the country long enough, it becomes natural.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's, I wouldn't say, we wouldn't say JLPT is absolutely necessary, but it's just good to have.
Yes, it's
just to show, because I think people, that's like kind of like official verification that you can do, you have proficiency in this language.
Also depends on your employer. If your employer really requires a proof that you do know the language, but there are companies out there who actually just test your proficiency during the interviews. Right. So it again depends on the company who's going to hire you.
That's true. Yeah. So Terence tips for everyone is just immerse yourself in the language, in Japanese language if you want to translate Japanese for a living.
Or if you want to translate other languages, just
same thing.
Learn, adapt, be really good at it. At least a normal conversation.
Yeah. And I suppose the kind of things you're translating for matters as well. Like you can be interested in Japanese language, but you also have to be interested in, let's say, the anime and manga culture if that's what you want to translate. Yeah, because if not, you might not get the puns or
references.
A lot of references and connotations that come with a lot of different words.
Right.
Yeah. So I suppose if you want to be working in the industry, I guess you have to be interested in that industry as well.
It's definitely a plus.
Yeah. Because if not, a lot of things you just wouldn't get.
Yeah, it just goes over your head.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing all your insights here with us.
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah. Because as one of the longest standing employee of Bushiroad, you definitely have a lot of valuable experience to share with us. So thank you so much for the interview today, and I think I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Great being here.
Yeah, thank you. Hi Honda.
Hi Julius.
Thank you so much for taking out some time out of your busy schedule to join me in this Coffee with Bushiroad series.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So could you tell me a bit about the work you do in Bushiroad?
Well, I do sales and logistics, but I'm mainly on the logistics side.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a lot more questions regarding that, because I think your work is mainly, a lot of people don't see or don't understand what goes on behind the scenes in what makes the games possible.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of logistics and transportation involved. But before that, we're going to dig right into our pastries and coffee and tea. What would you like?
Coffee, please.
Coffee? Coffee for you? Okay,
sure.
Cool. Okay, you can smell this. It smells good.
Wow.
Yeah, this smell really wakes you up. Yeah.
Fragrant.
Yeah. Go ahead and help yourself. to whichever one that you like.
Alright. Which one we like?
No, you go ahead.
Me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll pick whatever that's remaining.
Alright, so I'll go for this.
I'm a good host.
One.
So Huanta, I understand that even before you joined Bushiroad, to work for Bushiroad, I think you played a lot of Bushiroad card games.
Yeah.
What games
Yeah.
do you play?
I play mainly Weiss Schwarz, Vanguard, and a little bit of Buddy Fight.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you actually play our three main titles.
Yeah.
Oh, when did you start playing?
For Weiss, I started playing I think somewhere around 2008, 2009 kind of time when it first started out in Japan. Yeah.
Wow, that's like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And then for Vanguard?
Vanguard, I think I also started when it first came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you actually played Weiss first.
Yeah.
How do you get to know Weiss Schwarz?
So there was kind of like a community get together to learn the game. Like they brought some Weiss products from Japan, so they brought it over to Singapore, and they actually promoted the event, like come down to learn, and they actually sell some of the stuff they got in Japan. So yeah, that's how I got wine of Weiss, and I started learning, and I liked the game.
So which Weiss Schwarz titles are you currently enjoying?
I'm really enjoying the Fujimi Fantasia set right now, especially the deck with 8 standbys. It's very interesting. And also, I really like playing Goblin Slayer, especially the Goblin Slayer deck. The overall card advantage and the abilities is very flavorful. It's gonna be a huge. It has made a huge impact in the game itself, and soon English player can get their hands on the series. It's coming out in English. Yeah, for Goblin Slayer.
Wow, I think players can really look forward to that.
Yeah.
Do you still remember your very first deck? What title was it?
It was Fate Stain Night Crow deck.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so long ago. Yeah.
And ever since then, you just continued
Yeah.
playing the game. And right now, you are actually working for Bushiroad.
Yeah.
Wow, this is kind of like, it's coming to a full circle.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Vanguard clan?
My favorite clan would be Dark Irregulars.
Oh.
I love the overall theme of the deck, artwork, card abilities. Like soul charging, it thins your deck. So that thinning is very important in card games. You get to draw into more important cards, or it might go the other way. Like it makes everything looks exciting. Yeah, that's about.
That's your favorite?
Yes.
Ever?
Yeah.
Okay. No, back then when you are playing Bushiroad card games, do you actually think that you would, or maybe you hope that you will be able to work for Bushiroad?
So thinking that I would be working for the company would be no, but hoping that I would is a yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And back then, maybe you thought, maybe it would be great if I can work for Bushiroad one day.
Yeah.
Do you have like a job position in mind, or do you just, as long as I'm working for the company that produces these great card games for me, I'm fine with that.
Everyone would want to have a part in creating a game, so maybe a development role would be good. So that's what I think that every card gamers would want when they play the game or they like the game a lot, is to have a impact on the game, on the development side, like card abilities, like you want to make cards that you love. Yeah, I guess that's it. But I didn't expect like I'll be working in other aspects of the company. Yeah.
So how did you actually get the opportunity, to work for Bushiroad?
So I was already before my national service. I was already going around helping to do demo sessions, maybe helping out at events. So when I came out of national service, I actually did part-time in Bushiroad. I was waiting for my university application. So after that, it has a bit of waiting. So I was doing fine in Bushiroad part-timing. Unfortunately, on the day I received a call from the university, I didn't get in. So I was kind of very sad, this kind, like very disappointed. But luckily, there was an opening in the sales team, and I seized the day and I applied for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So Manda, what's your day-to-day like in the office?
So I start out the day with replying emails. After that, arranging shipments to distributors, packing of PR cards, and sending them if there's any. Other than that, I also handle office shipping. So it's intercompany shipment. It's not like business-wise.
Yeah. So you actually have to do a lot of shippings of PR cards,
Yeah.
to our shops around the world.
It's mostly to our distributors and our overseas offices, and then they'll ship it to the shops.
What are some of the challenges that you face during the course of your work?
Yeah, prior to shipping, there's a lot of layers of work, a lot of steps to be done in the production cycle. So if something were to happen, like maybe before shipping, I'll have to rework, reschedule all the shipments, or even rebook because it's already very last minute. Yeah, and it kind of snowballs into like this gets delayed. If this gets delayed, something after that might get delayed too. So I have to plan out everything, make sure everything goes smoothly out.
Definitely. I think it's inevitable that something will go wrong down the production line, and then I think you will have to come up with a lot of different ways, adapt, just kind of like deal with all these last minute changes.
Yeah.
So kind of like putting out fires.
yeah, exactly. Putting out fires.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of work, and I guess it must be so demoralizing, for a part of your work to be undone, and then you have to do it all over again.
Yeah.
How do you get over that?
You need to be patient. Like you can't rush over things because it's a long process, and you need to be resilient because you can't crumble in your work halfway, and everything will snowball. And once your work is overdue, more works will come in. Work is never finished.
Welcome back to Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021. I'm Toker from Yellow Card Vanguard, and...
Hello, my name is Philip from the channel Top Deck Heroes.
And I am Outer Orange from my Outer Orange channel.
And we are your caster team for the NALA region of the V Premium format of BRO 2021. So let's quickly run over the format of this weekend's tournament. So yesterday we had day one of Swiss Best of One Swiss Elimination. And today, going into day two, this will be the top 8. Also going to be a best of one for the V Premium format. We're going to try and figure out who is the best V Premium player to represent NALA. Orange, why don't I have you explain a bit about what else we have to offer from Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021?
Yes, so we also have the schedule. And this week we are currently today was December 12th, so we are in the top 8 cut. But yesterday we also had our Swiss rounds. And then the following week will be the standard overdress, which will be January 8th. It'll be, and then the next day will be top 8 or top 16. And then after that we have Weiss Schwarz, which will be also January 15th, and it'll be the Swiss rounds, and then the following day we'll have the top 8 and top 16 cuts. But that is not all. We also have the prizes. And Philip, what are the prizes?
Glad you mentioned that. Everyone will be, or not everyone, top 4 will be winning a special little goodies. All 4 will be getting a certificate. However, gold, silver, and bronze are going to be getting some extra little goodie bags, with the form of a box of V Clan Collection Volume 3, as well as a promo of Chrono Jet Dragon for the V Series. Now, third place is going to be getting one of that promo in a box. Second place will be getting 2 copies of that promo as well as a box. And first place is going to be walking away with a box of V-Clan Collection Volume 3 and a play set of Chrono Jet. Mr. Timely, eat your heart out. With that being said, we're in the finals. We are in the top 8. This is do or die moments.
Yeah, and this is the top 8 of the V Premium format. Like we said before, yesterday we went through a grueling 9 rounds of a lot of V Premium. Like, we saw a lot of high level gameplay from everyone. We've seen like top tier Force decks. We saw top tier Protect decks. We saw top tier Axel decks, and that is basically the breakdown of V Premium at the moment. But don't let us explain it to you. Bushiroad has prepared a very beautiful infographic video that can quickly explain the V Premium format as we get into the top 8 today.
Welcome to the Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021. Today's tournament will be played in the V Premium format, and we can't wait to get started and see all the exciting plays and unique deck ideas that the players will be bringing. Before we jump into it, let's brush up on what makes the V Premium format unique and what you can expect to see today. In V Premium, players use cards that contain this V logo found in the bottom left corner of the card. These cards were first released in VBT01 in 2018 and continue to be printed to this day through shop tournament promotional cards, as well as the Clan Collection booster sets. The format is supported twice per year with these booster sets, giving something new and exciting for all 24 clans. Before we get into the action of today's tournament, let's talk about some of the unique gameplay aspects of this format. First things first, decks are composed of 50 cards, and unlike the other formats, there is no G-Zone nor Ride deck present in this format. Instead, the unique factor is imaginary gifts, which are a type of marker that a player acquires when they ride a grade 3 with the imaginary gift symbol. The imaginary gifts are split into 3 types: Force, Protect, and Axel. Each of the 24 different clans are placed into one of the 3 gift types, which complement their clan's general playstyle. Furthermore, each gift type branches into 2, such as Force 1 and Force 2. However, keep in mind that once you have chosen either Force 1 or Force 2 upon riding your grade 3 for the first time, you cannot select the other gift type for the rest of that game. Let's give you a quick explanation of what each type of gift stands for. The Force gift represents a mid-range playstyle belonging to clans such as Royal Paladin, Dimension Police, Link Joker, and others. Force 1 is a marker that is placed on a rearguard or vanguard circle, and any rearguard or vanguard in that circle will gain plus 10,000 power during your turn. You can also place multiple Force 1 markers in the same circle, giving one unit plus 20,000 or more at a time. The Force 2 marker trades the power gain for changing the base critical of a unit above it to 2. This, however, cannot be stacked, as even if you apply 2 Force 2 markers to a single circle, they will both just change the unit's critical to 2 and not increase it beyond that. Whether it's critical pressure or greater attack power, decide which Force type fits your playstyle best and claim victory. The Protect gift represents a defensive playstyle, belonging to clans such as Angel Feather, Oracle Think Tank, Grand Blue, and others. Protect 1 is a unique gift marker that does not occupy any space on your field, but is rather kept in hand, as its effect is that of a Perfect Guard Sentinel. However, unlike Perfect Guards, a Protect marker is returned to the imaginary gift pile rather than the drop zone. The Protect 2 works akin to Force 1, where it places itself on a rearguard circle after being acquired and provides plus 5,000 power to the unit above, as well as giving it an additional 10,000 shield when intercepting. Whether it be Perfect Guards in hand or acquiring both power and defense, choose your Protect gift carefully to defeat your opponent. The Axel gift represents an aggressive playstyle belonging to clans such as Nova Grappler, Gold Paladin, Pale Moon, and others. Axel 1 is a gift marker which takes its place on the field in a unique way, creating an additional front row rearguard circle, thus enabling more potential attacks than the other gift types. In addition, the unit on top of the additional rearguard circle will gain plus 10,000 power, thus being able to pack a punch despite not being able to be boosted. Axel 2 trades some of the power by decreasing the gain from 10,000 to 5,000, but instead it allows the player to draw one extra card when the gift marker is acquired. With this, the player is able to replenish their hand while filling their Axel circles. Not only that, Axel clans are the only ones in the V Premium format that have access to front triggers, primarily due to being able to buff their front row, including the units that occupy the Axel markers. In addition to the imaginary gift markers, there are a few other game elements in this format. One such mechanic is the Quick Shield ticket, which is acquired by a player when they ride over their first Vanguard when going second, and it can function as a 5000 shield that can protect you from small pokes, or simply be discarded for effect costs. And finally, the latest addition to V Premium in the V Clan Collection Plus Volume 1 and 2, Heal Guardians. Heal Guardians are a unique type of heal trigger, which are grade 3. Instead of the usual 20,000 shield, Heal Guardians have 15,000 shield and 10,000 power, but come with a unique pair of abilities shared by all clans. When placed on the Guardian Circle from hand, if you haven't ridden a grade 3 or greater Vanguard yet during that fight, you can choose and use one of the following effects, either giving your Vanguard an additional plus 10,000 power for the entire turn, or choosing an opponent's unit and give it -2 critical for that battle. Whether you need an additional power buff to survive your opponent's powerful early rush of attacks, or you need to reduce the critical of your opponent's high damage unit, this effect will aid you in fighting various decks across the board. On top of that, when a Heal Guardian is placed on a rearguard circle from hand, if you do not have any cards in your damage zone, you can put the top card of your deck into the damage zone face up. This gives you the ability to use some card abilities even if your opponent refuses to attack and give you the damage to use them. And that wraps it up for this brief explanation of the V Premium format. Let's wish all the players participating today the best of luck, and we hope that all of you watching at home enjoy the show.
And we're back. Thank you once again, Bushiroad, for that very beautiful informatic video on the V Premium format. Let's quickly wrap up like what happened yesterday. Yesterday was such an excitement-pack-filled day. Orange, I want to hear, what was your most favorable moment or most memorable moment from yesterday's tournament?
Well, outside of me mispronouncing a card name and calling it Salami, I would have to say the very first match that we watched was extremely memorable with the Highlander Prism, seeing something very unique. I will say, though I wasn't commentating during this part, the Aquaforce match was absolutely breathtaking to watch. Watching how that played out, and the commentating between both of you guys was just amazing. The mirror match was also with Angel Feather with different fight, and Suo was just also like a really good experience. So those are probably like my favorite memories there. What about you, Philip?
Elephant in the room, you can't go wrong with the last match. 4 yellow cards on the quad drive. It doesn't get more epic than that. But my personal favorite memory was, it was long, but it was so memorable sitting here and watching that grind game between Chaos Breaker and Feng Saver. It might have been long, but I loved every second of it. I'm just sitting here going, oh, too much, too little, pushing a little bit more, not pushing enough. Just the back and forth. I loved it.
Meanwhile,
For myself, my most memorable moment, definitely just like you said, that Aquaforce moment, just getting Aquaforce revealed as the deck that went undefeated was tension max for me. I was so excited to finally be able to see Aquaforce in action in the V Premium format, because I had inklings of being able to see Maelstrom with like we said, a lot of the big consequences of getting those Heal Guardians into the format. And I was like very ecstatic to see that come in action. And definitely the Angel Feather mirror match, like such a great skill testing matchup between both top tier caliber players with Different Fight and Suo. But that is yesterday, and today is today. And I want to see what these players can do today. So let's take a look at the decks that our top 8 will be bringing. Bring me the first one. So first up, we all know him. We all know and love this deck. It is Kagze once again representing Aquaforce, bringing in Maelstrom. Like we said,
do me a favor, keep it short and sweet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, main thing about Maelstrom to note, you're looking to ride into the first grade 3 Maelstrom, use your press streams. You're looking to aggress your opponent with quad drive twice, with penta drive twice. And once you've got all your pieces set up, you look to read right into Glory Maelstrom. You hit the effect to give your front row 10k and force your opponent to only guard every attack with one card as you go into multiple attacks to end out the game.
In a format right now, we've seen a lot of Prism, we've seen a lot of hand size decks, which means having this kind of counter is very smart, bringing in Maelstrom, because you look at your opponent and go, how many cards you have in hand? 12. Well, you got to have specific cards in order to guard my turn, and it's basically been proven itself to be the counter to the current meta.
I would also like to add this on-hit pressure that this deck provides now is just amazing because even if the cards don't hit, you still get your effects to go off, and it's just really, really fun to see. But that is this deck. What about the next deck? What else do we have for us today?
Oh, and we have Nyat Hui Dang representing Shadow Paladin, bringing a very well-known deck in the V Premium meta in Luard. Let me set the stage here for us. So, Luard is just a deck that looks to go back into Drag Hard, into Drag Driver to accelerate the amount of Force 1s that we are able to get to make our Grade 1's attacker that much larger. I definitely want to point out the 2 Apocalypse Bats as well as Morfessa, because when you do go for the kill, it is these cards that you are looking to go back and forth into to get that very nice and juicy 5 attack base to crit combo. Philip, what do you think about this?
I love, like, it is a very streamlined deck. We've seen Luard in action a lot in premium of the different versions of this deck or the original G Luard, but now we're not in premium no. This is full on V, and it does one thing and does it well, doing the Luard, doing the Gear Chronicle S. Hey, I'm gonna strive for my deck kinda. But you already pointed out the bat. And the card I do want to point out that helps the full engine even more, and it's only running a 1-of because you have that Serp potential, and that is Nightmare Painter. Soul is a very important resource for this deck, so having the way to just keep going, getting your cards into Soul, and just it's self-explanatory. That's all I gotta say. I love the tech option.
I agree. I agree. I personally think this deck is very spooky, so I'm very excited to see kind of like how we're gonna see all these tech options with these grade 1s coming in towards the opponents. But that is the Luard deck. What is our next deck for this top 8?
I wonder. Let's
I am
go check
wondering.
it out.
Yeah.
And it
Oh.
will be Adrian Barber, also playing Luard, representing Shadow Paladin one more time. We do see a bit different ratios here. We don't see the
Sorry, I blinked. I
Apocalypse
thought we
Bats.
switched.
Yeah, so one main thing to notice about Adrian Barber's deck is the lack thereof of Apocalypse Bats. So a bit more consistent in what it looks to do in the first few turns, at the cost of sacrificing the upper ceiling of getting that multi-attack between the Morfessas and popping out the bats from souls. Just like last deck, the strategies are the same. Philip, do you have anything to add on about this deck?
Well, there's just a couple of different ratios, just like you mentioned. The one copy of Painter is still in there. No Apocalypse Bat. We do see, unlike the other deck, running one less of the Strict Order Knight, the grade 1 that just gains 15k on herself, making herself a 20k. That's a very good card for a booster, attacker, and so on. So this deck might not have that multi-attack potential as much as with the bat combos, but it's still doing what Luar wants to do, and you're just bumping up your ratio. I'm seeing 4 Balalaos, like an amazing card. Overall, just it might not be a multi-attack option, but it is still Luard in its finest.
Yeah, I was gonna add they do run a little bit more of the Searcher, the Drag Wizard, so they're trying to hit the Luard pieces kind of a little bit more frequently here. Other than that, I'm really excited to see where this deck takes us. But let's go on to our next top 8 deck. Let's see what it is.
And the fourth deck we'll be looking at will be a familiar name on the NALA stream, and that is Toby Tcg, playing Prisms, representing the Bermuda Triangle Clan. We all know this deck like the back of our hand now. Everything's kind of self-explanatory. We've got our Prism engine between the Clear, Rosa, and the Vert, and we have the generic good stuff between the Aqua, the Ellie, and the Lieselot. What much else is there to say except this is a well-oiled machine?
Exactly. Like we've seen this deck, especially this deck exactly in action twice. We know what it's capable of. We know exactly what the game plan is, where all the key cards need to be, how the deck runs. Like you said it beautifully, well-oiled machine. It just comes down to, well, what are my opponents playing against? Am I gonna adjust my game plan?
gonna also add to this. So we already know that there is one deck that will be countering this type of mechanic going on here, and it's just interesting to see like how it's gonna play out with this being a well-oiled machine. If we have another deck out there, mainly being Aquaforce, that can take down this beautiful 12-card type of hand deck. But other than that, we do have another deck to look at. So let's go into our next deck.
Changed.
Sorry, I blinked again.
What changed? It looks like the only thing changed between the 4th deck and the 5th deck was the player. This is probably something that we've seen a lot in the premium format. This is called the WCC special. It looks like it's the same list that Team WCC as a team had decided on. We see all the same ratios. I think we even see the same crit choices. The only thing I will penalize them on is that they don't run one of the better crits, in my opinion, and just running these two.
Yeah,
Really?
but I do think a couple of things might have moved around, or my eyes might be deceiving me. Granted, I'm a little bit blurry on my end. Is that 1 copy or 3 copies of Spaina over there?
That is 3.
I do
Okay,
believe
good.
it
My
is
eyes
3.
just deceived me. Never
It's
mind,
okay.
this is a carbon copy.
It is the exact same, yes. So we saw a very similar deck like this, so there isn't too much. We've already kind of discussed a lot of this, so let's go and see what our next deck is. Oh.
Man, I gotta start blinking. I'm missing the transitions.
Did you,
I do want to
one?
point out. I do want
Go
to
for
point
it.
out.
Mhm.
Kevin Cho did decide to run something a bit different that we did see from Toby and Tyler,
Don't do it.
and that's the starter.
Don't do it.
Kevin Cho
God,
has
you do
opted
it.
to use the Sonata starter instead of the Shizuku. Do you guys have anything to talk about this different starter choice?
This-
I mean,
This is putting him on a different level. Like, that starter is going to completely change the game. It's going to take him a little bit farther than the other 2 decks. Like, I don't understand why the other 2 people didn't pick this specific starter. It's just, but overall, jokes aside, it is another carbon copy. But I want to point out, 3 people might be playing the same deck. Skill level is going to determine, as well as triggers. It doesn't come down to, oh, I'm playing one of the decks that have proven themselves, decks that are a well-oiled machine. You also need to be able to play it. You also need to be adapted to the situation, and your triggers just got to be on your side a little bit more. I'm predicting we're going to see a mirror match here sooner or later, or even so. It'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Orange, anything to add?
yes, the starter is amazing. This is best starter. This is Sonata. This is best girl right here. You can't go wrong with best girl. So I approve of this. You got to bring that melody love into your Prism deck. That's how you do it. But that's honestly all I have to say. Let's go ahead and see what our next deck is.
And rounding us up at number 7, we do have Suo playing that big Angel Feather rescue check, playing the Gabrielle with the Hamiel for the finisher, and also that very, very spicy tech in the grade 2 29k booster. You're going to grow to know this name because it is Care My Nurse.
Like, we've talked about how there's Prism, 4 basically identical decks. And we've seen Aquaforce that can handle it, that has that little bit of a counterplaying glory. But now we're looking at another deck that has that potential of counterplaying. If you can pull off the Hamiel like we saw in the mirror match yesterday against Different Fight and put that booster in the back, you're looking at something that can hit the 80 to 90 mark with no Sentinels. And it can just eat that Prism hand instantly. So this is one of those decks that Prism is going to be one of their favorite matchups, but it's not going to be an easy walk in the park.
I completely agree. This little tech is really fueling the engine because we do have that new grade 1 that recently came into Clan Collection, the Jophiel, which really helps fuel this 5 damage angel type of approach. So I'm really excited to see kind of more of this action of this Angel Feather. But that's all for this one. Let's go ahead and see our final deck for top 8.
And the final player will be Ichi playing Grand Blue with that Night Rose and the Beatrice. Orange, I'm actually going to pass this one to you, being the Grand Blue aficionado of the group here. Go ahead and give us a rundown on what the deck aims to do.
So you'll notice here that they're actually running a quite a bit of milling engine. So a lot of decks will usually choose between the Siege Strolling Banshee and the Navigator play, but here we actually see both. And because of that, they're trying to pretty much push that early pressure of the drop so as quick as possible to enable that. You also notice we have the Tommy the Ghosties. That's mainly for the grade 3 searching, either to drop that Skull Dragon or pick up a Heal Guardian or pick up a Night Rose. Whatever you need, get that Beatrice in. It's just a perfect card for this type of approach. We do see the very usual, the Greed Shape, the Ghost Ship, the Jessie, the Columbard, and of course the Night Rose, Skull Dragon, and Beatrice combo. We need all this stuff to get our draw, our counter charge, our multi-attack going, and then finish off with the Skull Dragon engine and Ghost Ship for just, big beater, big draw. But other than that, it's a very, very standard list. The only thing that's a little strange to me to see, but not still really good, is the 4 perfect guards and 8 crits. Do you have anything to say for this, Philip?
Perfect guards death in Grand Blue. That's what I've been told a lot of times, because at least draw perfect guards, because you do mill yourself decent amounts. So having those draw PGs left in the deck when your deck is so small can, potentially work against you. But overall, if it works, it works for this player, and he's gotten over here all the way to top 8. So something must be working. I do want to point out the Navigator. Navigator was such a slept-on card when it first came out for Night Rose. A lot of people were hesitant on it. It was similar to Calamity for Overlord, and then people started realizing, yeah, this card needs to be in here. Please and thank you. Let's move on.
Definitely agree. So now that we know what our top 8 will be piloting, I want to ask you guys, what is your favorite to win? Orange, let me know.
I mean, obviously, I really want to see Grand Blue do its thing, like as a Grand Blue player. Though I am more of a Beatrice player over the Night Rose engine and all that stuff, but still, it is Grand Blue at the end of the day, so I'm really excited. If not that, I actually really want to see this Angel Feather deck go pretty far. I loved the way that the entire deck was played out, and I love the thinking process behind it. So that would probably be another deck I'd really like to see. What about you, Philip?
For me, honestly, I can't put myself behind Prism, unfortunately. Never was a big Grand Blue fan, and Bermuda fan, other than maybe Eve and the Highlander build. But Luard is a very, very good card, but Shadow Pattern, other than Clear It, has never interested me. So my money and my favor is on that Angel Feather deck. I've come to love Angel Feather during V, especially with Malekith and then Gabriel as well. Just I love the mechanics, I love the toolboxing, being able to kind of manipulate damage, drop soul, just being able to do these shenanigans. It's very, 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 very fun. And Toku, I'm pretty sure this is a rhetorical question, but hey, what about you?
I wonder. All right, everybody in chat with me now. Duma Gang, Maelstrom Gaming. That's what I'm looking for. I hope for Kogze to bring Maelstrom all the way to the top. In round 9, we did see Kogze take down Prism, which was the big boogeyman of the format. And with 3 Prism players in the top 8, once Kogze gets playing into those matchups more and more, he's more prepared for them as well. But let's not forget, we had a full at least 12 hours for all the WCC team members to brainstorm and sit down and think about, how do we deal with this rogue deck in Maelstrom?
Honestly,
we did mention that yesterday about scouting. Like, it's in all sports, scouting is just a part of the game. Like, you want to know what your opponent's capable of so you can prepare your game plan and do your things properly. And the same thing can be said. WCC probably has a wide network of people that can talk, that know, and so forth. So they probably already are, all right, there's an Alka Force here. There's an Angel Feather. I believe we have a Grand Blue that's here, and then Luard. So how do we combine all this? Well, Luard's going to be swinging at us with multi-attack and decent big numbers that are all good. Some of them are going to be double criticals. Grand Blue is going to have those Skull Dragons come at us, and we already seen the potential Alka Force, and we know what Hamiel is capable of with Gabriel. So how do we combat this?
Gonna add on, I think a lot of the gameplay is gonna revolve around Ellie actually. As a Prism player, Ellie is one of the best cards to deal with a good bit of these decks. Like, you have a couple Ellies in your hand, you can honestly hard guard a Skull Dragon. You have a couple Ellies in your hand, Amiel, I can guard that. Even against Maelstrom, that Ellie is going to come to play. We're probably going to see that being like the big approach. Like, how do I get this Ellie into hand as fast as possible so I can guard some of the stuff that's being thrown at me as a Prism player?
One of the weaknesses of Ellie is going to be the matchup a bit, because against Maelstrom, Ellie is an amazing card because you're, especially when they get to their glory turn, you're forced to guard with one card. But then you go against something like a Skull Dragon or Hamio, and Ellie is still an amazing card, but she's only amazing if you have, the prep. Because once you use Ellie, one copy goes to the bottom of the deck and one's in your Guardian Circle, that's a 20k. To use a second Ellie for that one big attack, you're going to need a fourth Ellie in the drop zone. And while it's possible, it's going to be hard.
Definitely, for sure. Now, just to bring up another topic of discussion, since we do know the pairings, we do know that in one of the matchups, we have Kagze versus Nyat Huidang. That is going to be the Maelstrom versus the Luard. Now, you guys already know my personal bias there, so I will leave it to you two to have the discussion of the what ifs, like what kind of gameplay do we expect to see from them?
It's gonna come down to who goes first a little bit. If Luar can get the advantage and start their turn and start generating those force markers, they're gonna go to their second grade 3 turn a lot stronger. And we've seen the potential of Maelstrom. We've seen that quad drive really go off, and they're gonna be their ace in the hand. But if Maelstrom can kind of go first, not only do they have that potential of quad drive, now they have one turn to face Luard at their grade 3, and then they have the option of, let me try doing these, maybe triple drive, or maybe do quad drive again, or go into the glory for a finisher.
I was gonna say I'm kind of with you on that concept, Philip, because if you think about it, both these decks really like to go into like a turn 4. Like they want to ride up and then they want to ride up again, essentially. Be going between the Luard, doing Luard things, and Maelstrom doing Maelstrom things. They both actually really escalate going first. They both want to go first because they want to be able to get to their win con a little bit faster. Luard wants to gain their force markers, have the other Luard start getting those crits in, start getting that multi-attack going, and also have a setup turn for draw. Maelstrom has a same situation. While they do have kind of an approach where they can go aggro on their Maelstrom turn, but they do also want to shred that Luard hand. Going into that second Maelstrom will actually start pushing to shred that hand to kill them faster. So actually, I will agree with you. Going first will actually be kind of a big determination here. We'll kind of see like what will really escalate, because it's a double Vanguard type of situation. We got double Maelstrom, double Luard.
Now Toku, we have 3 Bermudas, and 2 of them are already going to be facing each other almost immediately in a type of mirror match. What do you think is going to be the key factor? Who's going to come out top with that one?
For sure, it's definitely understanding which pieces to keep, which pieces, what to use your counterblast on as well. We saw it in round 9 between Toby and Kagze, where using that one counterblast that we had on the Rosa, although it did get us that one card in the bind and the one card in the hand, Kagze was able to position around that face down card in the damage zone and start swinging at the rears to not allow Toby to have that really strong grade 3 turn. Definitely going into the mirror match here, it is basically how you manage your resources properly as well. We saw it time and time again. We saw in the mirror match between Different Fight and Suo in the Angel Feather mirror match. The moment all those cards went face down over on Chris's side of the turn, that was the resource denial that Suo needed to try and eke that game out towards his favor.
Yeah, see, it comes down to Toby actually has a little bit of experience now through this tournament of, all right, I gotta be careful I don't use up all my CB on Rosa on this in the early game, because my opponent might do the same thing again. Granted, it is a mirror match, but at the same time, hey, if you go in first with Prism and your opponent is a Prism, and they see you use your one and only CB on Rosa, they might just go for the rear guard and do exactly what Kagze did. Now, a match I am very interesting to see how it's going to turn out, because we talked about both decks a little bit, is the Shadow Paladin Prism matchup. Because we've talked about how Shadow Paladin can just, on turn 4, do a lot. And we've seen Prism in action more than enough times. Now it's going to come down to the question, okay, who can do 5 attacks better?
Yeah, so kind of foresighting into the matchup between Adrian and Toby Tcg. So Adrian will be piloting Luard and Toby piloting Prisms. I think a lot of the Shadow Paladin matchups will come down to what happens on turn 2. when your opponent rises to grade 1? Will you swing or will you pass? A lot of Luard's speed comes from being able to resolve that Leo fall on the moment that you call it down on grade 2. Being able to call that Charon from deck to Soul Blast 1, namely the grade 1 that you wrote into the turn before, just helps increase the speed of your ritual, getting that extra grade 1 onto the board so that way you have another grade 1 to retire off of using the Luard skill. Once you ride into it, gets you that 3 grade 1s in the drop zone that you need for that free stride. Charon being a source of countercharge as well, the moment you call it off of the Leah fall, being able to then have that face of counterblast to use the drag driver skill as well. That all of this like snowballs into a lot more advantage. So like these are the top tier caliber players. I'm expecting them to understand what is like possible from like this Leah fall play. Orange, do you have anything to add on about like the Shadow Paladin matchups that we have going today?
Honestly, I know how to face Shadow Paladin. I've never actually played Shadow Paladin, so I am interested to see it. But from a Prism perspective, like if I was a Prism player, I'm thinking, all right, they're gonna ride up, they're gonna do their stuff, get some force markers, get their grade 1s going, maybe do a little bit of farming, get some draw in, all this stuff, and then they're gonna ride up again. So as a Prism player, I have to start thinking, how am I gonna deal with their push turn? When is their push turn gonna happen? How much Counter Blast is it worth to give a deck like this? And what kind of damage do I wanna be on during these type of situations? Because this is a 2 crit type of attacking deck, whereas Prism is not a 2 crit attacking deck unless you run the Highlander build. And that's something to keep in mind. Well, I'm gonna be swinging for 1 damage every turn with the exception of crits on triggers, they're going to be swinging at 2 damage at me, and how am I going to have to deal with that? So I think those are kind of things that you need to think about. Also kind of like maybe doing some cycling, maybe getting some triggers back to deck with the heal guardians, maybe that would be in a favor, because I think healing out of a lot of this will really help to kind of keep the damage low but still keep the pressure going and eventually maybe killing. So that's kind of where I stand on it. So that's all I have.
See, a good part about this all is we're just kind of given our insight on these 3 matchups because we're not going to be able to see them. But you know what game we're going to be able to see how it turns out?
Okay.
Suo
I'm
versus
excited.
Ichi.
Suo versus Ichi. Suo on the Angel Feather, Ichi on Grand Blue. Let's take a look how it turns out. Let's get ready to start the first match of top 8 of V Premium Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021. Let's Vanguard.
Woo!
Exciting.
On the left side, we have that familiar name, Suo Stephen Lee, and on the right, we have Ichi. Suo on the left playing Angel Feathers, and Ichi on the right playing Grand Blue. We never got a chance to actually talk about predictions here, but I want to know, what are your guys' thoughts on this one? Orange, I'm going to pass it to you because you playing Grand Blue are definitely a bit more experienced on the Grand Blue ends of things.
Honestly, this is a pretty tough matchup because Grand Blue needs some time to farm in order to actually start being able to deal with a Hamiel turn. So they need their ghost ships like ASAP. And if you don't get them in time, this is going to be a struggle because Angel Feather, if they pop off on grade 3, they can kill you on that turn. So it is going to be a tough matchup but it will be a tough matchup for Angel Feather too towards the end. If Grand Blue survives, they're going to start farming and farming and farming. So we're going to start seeing some backfire if they don't kill fast enough.
Now we did mention before for the for the Shadow Paladin Maelstrom matchup, how going first will really dictate how the game goes. And this is one of those games again that might just do the same thing. Like going first could give the Angel Feather just enough time to really put on the pressure, get the Grand Blue before they actually start building that giant hand size.
Definitely something to like be very like cognizant about. A lot of what Ichi is looking to do as we go up from grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 is to be able to build that handful of grade 1s and the grade 0s, because these are the biggest shield values we have without the name of Sentinel in them. Even in this matchup, I am curious as to whether or not Ichi will actually tend towards the Beatrice side of things, getting those ghosties onto the board with that Protect 2 and those big intercepts.
Yes, this is very true. Honestly, going Protect 2 in this type of matchup is actually, sometimes you could actually get away with it.
Oh boy. We're getting some problems with the player video, so this is going to be a very interesting. Hopefully they can resolve that. We've gotten a similar situation yesterday with player videos and disconnecting. So I'm just hoping it's not it's not the same. It's not a repeat.
I think me and Philip are a curse.
Now,
We're commenting together. These things happen.
It's not my fault. My ugly
get these
mug
two
is-
out. Get these two out of the shot. Get these two out of the shot. And it does look like Suo is back again. So hopefully we are able to get back into the gameplay for you guys all watching at home. But yeah, let's keep talking about the matchup here. We did see on the left side of things, Suo was able to actually go first, being able to run into Nakir, and we did find that Hamiel. So that Hamiel, boom, red lights are going off in your head. The Hamiel will be live the moment Suo hits that grade 3 turn. On the Ichi side of things, like we said, we're looking to farm those cards in hand, so that way we can save off the first Hamiel turn, be able to recuperate our hand for the potential second Hamiel turn. And once we're all set up, we're looking to send it with our multiple Bone Dragon, Skull Dragon attacks.
See, a thing we never talked about is how, whenever you build a deck, you try to make a streamline for what you want to do and how you want to win, you know. But a thing that I always do with decks is I look at all of it, not only what can get me that win, but what kind of cards we have. And I really want to give props to this Angel Feather deck, or especially these Angel Feather cards, because almost every single card going all the way up to grade 3, not including grade 3 because you want to be on Gavriel, can do something on the Vanguard. Like, you don't have a bad ride target. You either get a grade 3 searcher, or you get on-hit draw pressure. You get with Yapkinio, you get, the Counterblast 1 at the hand, get a damage, and the same thing can be said with Salafio. You have really good targets going up, and nothing is a bad Vanguard.
Definitely have to agree with you. And I do want to point out the fact that Ichi was able to ride into the Skeleton Navigator, something being only a 7k base Vanguard, being able to swing under the 8k that Suo rode into, and thus being able to effectively damage deny. But Suo also being able to get that crit into Ichi, pushing to 2 damage all of a sudden. That grade 3 turn looks a bit scarier right now instantly.
I will also want to note that Navigator, so sometimes you want to push early for that mill, but we actually saw that they just swung and they just, was swung under, denied it, and just kept going. But it would have been interesting to see if they could have possibly started the mill. We did notice that there was a drive check with the column bard, which means now is the time to start farming. Ichi can go ahead and pick up a ghost ship. They can pick up a Navigator if they want to start milling, but we did see the ghost ship come up, which means we are going to start seeing that draw here.
Absolutely correct. So just like you said, off of Colombard's skill, we do mill out the Stormride Ghost Ship from our deck. Definitely going to be the target of call there, being able to not only swing big, but to refund a card into our hand as well. Just an all-around great card for the Grand Blue deck. Over on Suo's side of things, though, we do know that Suo does have that crit Senno, and Ichi sending it all the way in, swinging with that Jesse, setting up that column with the Banshee behind the Colombard, and also that Ghost Ship to attack and end off the turn with a draw as well.
Also,
He's probably ready for the push. He knows that Angel Feather here is trying to try to crit him as soon as possible, so that whenever Hamiel hits the board, it's a little bit easier. We don't need to hit as many crits to, be threatening. So you got to push back. You got to put Angel Feather at a higher damage, and that would, give him more fuel to the fire. But if you can put Angel Feather to 4, every single Skull Dragon then is starting to be very, very lethal.
Oh yeah, they definitely, you'll notice they also got the Jesse out there just in case that there was any form of damage denial that just wouldn't happen there, because they're going to countercharge it all back and just be ready to just go aggressive. I think the play there was, go aggressive as possible, survive the Angel Feather turn, and then go straight into Dragons, potentially just ending it there.
And we did see from the first attack from Ichi, Suo was able to use the Sario from hand to guard it. 9-9, easy 5 to guard there. Now, I wonder if Suo does have the Heal Guardian in hand, if Suo is willing to take all that damage to try and just completely blow out the game here from Ichi. But I do love the fact that we've called down the Ghost Ship to try and draw us back a card. We called down the Banshee to try and even play on that line where if we're able to mill triggers, if we could possibly draw into a bigger shield value than that 10k in hand.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see.
I'm the same way. I'm really curious to kind of see how this plays out here. Also, that Banshee in the back will start that mill function going, so also potentially get to better draw, as you could sacrifice the Banshee to get something better. Maybe just better as you draw cards, so maybe you'll get into better shield value, just better anything to kind of help, because 10k is not bad, but milling and setting up your drop zone is just so much better in this situation too.
Exactly,
Now, you
exactly. And like
you
with
already
Ichi's
mentioned this
attacks
topic.
here,
Go for it.
with Ichi's
Sorry about that.
attacks
Go for
here,
it.
with Ichi's attacks here, we are pushing Suo. Like we do see 2 more attacks left, and for Ichi to be able to convert that Stormlight Ghost Ship into another card in hand, we also have to attack with said Stormlight Ghost Ship. So this will be an attack from the Vanguard, potentially a no guard over on Suo's ends of things, as Suo tries to get that 3 counterblast leader for the Hamiel and just try and completely blow the game out, and hitting Ichi from 2 to 6, 2 to 7 to try and deny any chances of heals, as well as if we do have the Yafiels in hand, like just being able to like turbo ourselves to 5 damage to get that really big 100k, 90k plus Hamiel. I wonder if that's the strategy here. Philip, go ahead.
Like, there's a lot of moving factors, and both players need to just stay on top of it. This is play we're getting from Ichi is very aggressive, and we already talked about the potential why we're doing it, but it is also a little bit risky. Angel Fetter's damage zone is another way of resourcing. If you see a card you need, you see that Jawfiel, you go, all right, let me grab this real quick. Let me now use this. Oh, look, a new card just hit damage zone that I really need and I want. Let me go grab it again. And just toolboxing, and while putting your opponent at higher damage to, win the game faster for your Skull Dragons is probably the strategy to go. It is a double-edged sword where you're also giving fuel to the fire to this specific deck.
Exactly, exactly. But as we know, with this type of matchup, we want to push as hard as possible. So honestly, for a Grand Blue player, there really is no other out. You know that you can't survive 2 attacks. There's just you can't survive 2 Hamiel turns. It's just not possible. You're gonna start. You're pretty much gonna start losing very quickly. So having to push here is honestly one of the best situations, or the best situation to put yourself in.
And actually opting to use that Heal Guardian to buffer ourselves that plus 10k defensive.
I was
Ooh, and we
honestly waiting for
also
that Heal Guardian to fall on the offensive turn, like get that damage in.
actually do find that Heal Guardian something very good to see going into Suo's grade 3 turn as well. Knowing that Suo does have that Hamiel in hand, having that safety assurance of that Heal Guardian that we just picked up off of that Colombard drive check, something you love to see.
Also using that C strolling Banshee, not seeing any triggers, which may seem a little unfortunate, but we also might see that play out later. So you're not seeing triggers now, means you could see triggers later.
Speaking
Very
of triggers, I'm pretty sure Suo is happy he only seen 1 trigger hit his damage, while defensive triggers are always nice. In this gameplay, you want to keep all of your yellow cards in your deck for those rescue checks to make Hamiel dangerous. Speaking of Hamiel, she's on the Vanguard?
Yeah, I was, yep.
Calling the Hamiel on the Vanguard, very, very interesting. Luckily, we do have the Gabriel in the damage zone, hopefully able to pick it up.
Honestly,
you just
yeah.
need 1 card. No, 1 card specifically to grab that boy. There, it got girl. That is straight out of damage.
This is actually very, this means that there is now kind of like a little bit of a slow turn here, but we did see the Heal Guardian on Ichi's side, so honestly, maybe not pushing this turn is not necessarily needed. Staying here, just having a little bit of a pressure, just getting your draw, setting up your board for next turn is probably not a bad situation. They do have the Gabriel now in hand, so we'll be able to see that Gabriel in action with Hamiel potentially next turn.
Exactly. I love the way you brought it up. But yeah, like, let's not forget that although not being able to ride into Gabriel, we then lose that 10k buff. And that 10k buff, like, it does make a big difference, especially swinging into like a clan that's not forced, not being on the 10k base means you're only on 9k, meaning like all your 9k to 9ks will hit here, even with that defensive 10k. So Ichi does have the option of just putting down that Heal Guardian, buffing the Colombard by the 10k there. But playing for the defensive trigger, which we don't see, going ahead and swing for the Hamiel here. Hopefully find some critical triggers. But there comes the Heal Guardian.
But do you opt to give 10k or do you opt to go -2 crit?
I think I would opt to give the 10k here. And then, because we do know that Salafiel is sitting at 19k.
Oh.
Did you notice?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trap check?
Hey, it's perfect setup. It's perfect. This is all just setup. This is the preparation for the Gabriel turn. We're just seeing the beginning.
We're just getting started. So
Yeah.
now that the Heal Guardian's out of hand, Suo is raring to go for the next turn. We've got the Gabriel in hand to get that extra 2 damage checks. We've got the Gabriel in hand to try and pick up a card from the damage zone that we can use. Hopefully we have another copy of Hamiel in hand as well, so that way we're able to have that big finisher that we want.
So this right now is the setup turn that we probably were seeing. Notice the Greed Shade, getting that double mill to bring something that is of shield value back to hand. We'll probably be seeing some ghost ships coming out too here. Because this is the turn where you want to start thinking, okay, how much shield do I need to survive the Gabriel turn? We did see the double damager coming through the grade 1, so Ichi is very rare and very ready to be like, okay, what do I need to do to survive? But this is where the big but comes in. Can I survive potentially 2 attacks? Because we know that Suo isn't dying this turn, so we have to survive potentially 2 attacks here, 2 Hamiel attacks, and that's where the Greed Shade's coming in handy, very nicely.
And just like you said, all the setup here, we have the Colin Bird coming down to mill out that Skull Dragon for the turn after, being able to then reanimate the Ghost Ship, being able to get us another draw 1 as well. We also still have the Banshee live on the board, being able to potentially get us a better draw 1 as well, as we start trying to fill up our hand with a lot of cards that's just able to hard guard that Hamiel.
Exactly. We're going to be seeing 3+ here. We're going to be seeing a Ghost Ship, and then we're probably going to be seeing 2 more Ghost Ships again. That Colin Bar setup was beautiful, so we'll be seeing a lot of draw here. Hopefully it'll be enough to guard a potentially 86, 96k Hamiel.
And speaking of
There's
setup,
that
also
Beatrice.
calling the Beatrice too. Yep.
Yep, there it is. They did get, and so we're gonna be seeing 4 Ghost Ships this turn. So I mean that's a +4 to hand. What is this? A
This
Prism?
is exactly no, this is exactly what you mentioned. This is hand farming.
Yep.
The scouting report has been done. We know Hamiel is a threat, so you got to get as much shield value into hand as possible, because once that Hamiel starts swinging, not much you can do. Not to mention, you got to think of this from each side as well. You just saw 2 Jophiel hit on the drive checks.
Yep.
You know exactly what they can do now.
Yeah. Ichi is prepared, and I'm really excited to see. I'm very happy to see his preparation. This is how you know how to fight a matchup like this. You know you're out. You know you're out is just going as crazy as possible with these Ghost Ships, trying to get that farm going, and hopefully we'll see if it's enough, if it'll be enough to deal with this, because there are grade 3s, so we'll have to see.
And I just wanted to make the comment on like the disparity in a lot of decks. A lot of times you will see one of your like main combo pieces go to your damage zone, and you can't help but feel that little bit of despair. But the disparity of Angel Feathers seeing their main combo pieces go to damage zone, you now know that card is now live for you to be able to toolbox. I just think that's interesting. Oh, and we do get that mill off of the Banshee there to get a draw as well from our hand. And we have 2 more attacks that are also going to draw us another card back. Oh, this is going to be one of the biggest hands I've ever seen from Grand Blue.
Yep, also with the crit pressure, since they did hit the crits, so we did see that there. And there is that guard, and we have one more draw.
One last attack here. Will they choose to take it to go to 4, give us more toolboxes to play with in the damage zone, or will we opt to actually guard this one and try and like play it for a 2-turn kill instead of that 1-turn pop? It does look like it is a guard.
Luckily enough, the Ghost Ship doesn't have to attack Vanguard, so they could be swinging at rears.
That is true. That 24 to the rear guard makes everything that much harder to guard, since, like we said, being 15 over a number without the inclusion of like these like 20k heal guardians now, that 15 is that new magic number we look at.
Actually, it's a little bit higher. Night Rose actually gains an extra 5k, so that's a 29 swinging Ghost Ship right there.
Well, 29, me 29?
That's a little over 22. 32 is 32.
Sorry, yes, 32. For some reason, I thought we were still in 9k base. I forgot what you wrote into Hamiel.
Yes. The non-Gavriel. We're about to see it. There it is.
And there's the Gavriel. All right, let's go ahead and find a way to pick up that Hamiel from the damage zone. Do we have the Zophiel? We have a Yophiel being able to push us to that 4th damage there. Unfortunately, that free damage check that we get is not is the trigger, which means the rescue effect does not go off. And there's the second Yafio. They're going down there. And let's go ahead and use the Yafio. Go ahead and counterblast one. Pick up the Hamil from the damage zone. Do we find another trigger off of this rescue check? 3, 2, 1. Let's let it rip. One.
Oh.
There is the crit. Unfortunately, Hamil is not on the board. Hamil is not on the board to give it to.
Could add pressure to the Vanguard though here. Yep, there it is.
Right. Yeah, I Spy with my little eye, another card that can do a rescue check. We're going to go ahead and call the Zophiel behind the Yafkiel there. Just deciding on where to put it because we are at 5 damage, so we could potentially find that 29k booster that Suo has definitely made a name for.
Toko, I just want to say, I'll give you 100% props. I would be struggling all of these Angel Feather names until tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely a deck that I've also heavily play tested. So I was very curious as to the 29k tech there, but Suo definitely being able to show its merits, especially in that game against Different Fight there. And there's Zophiel there. Go ahead and pick up a copy of the crit for that defensive play. And we do find that another crit.
It's getting dangerous now.
That's getting spooky.
Do we have more rescue checks in hand? Nope. Looks like we are going into the Gabriel rescue checks there. We're going to go ahead and pick up 2 cards. I'm looking at probably picking up a trigger to add to hand and a trigger to send back. Need as much defensive because if we aren't able to win on this turn, we definitely don't want to pick up too much 0 guards because that doesn't help you survive.
Yes, exactly. And putting the triggers back to deck is also just really nice here. No triggers.
No triggers.
Well, I still got a bit.
And there's that. There it is. The 29k booster. Nurse Care Mine. Care Mine Nurse. Doesn't matter which order the name is. All we care about is the fact that we're getting that 29k boost, being able to push up us into that very nice threshold.
Now, Hamil is currently sitting at 3 damage guaranteed with her ability with the critical, which means I see exactly what Suo is trying to do here. He's trying to push his opponent at least to 1 more damage so that Hamil is already lethal. Because if you swing with Garviel, you might risk hitting a heal, or you also might hit a critical. There's still those heals.
Yes, exactly. This is kind of a weird situation to be in. We are at 5 damage here, but having the goal here, Suo is going to want to smooth the Hamil if there's a way to get the Ichi to 3 damage. But of course, Ichi does guard this, so now we got risk of the heal. Hopefully, we won't see it because if we do, that damage, that grade 2 damager, that extra buff that she gets will be lost. And I think even the boost.
To guard and use those perfect guards while he still can, and only 1 yellow critical, and there's the heal.
Just like you said, Orange, finding that heal, pushing Suo back down to 4 damage there. Therefore, we lose not only the boost, but we also lose that 20k, I believe.
Yes, so it loses boost in power.
I need y'all's opinion right here. You can't kill your opponent with this. You don't have that as big number as you hoped you would. You might cause 3 damage, but that is going to give them more enough fuel to the fire. Would you just pass turn here in certain scenarios and not give Granblue any form of counter charge? Because I didn't, other than Jesse. There's Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse is in the drop zone there. But what I do like about actually opting to swing with the Hamil here is we're able to push Ichi all the way to 5, which means on the next turn, every attack will be lethal. And let's not forget that we also have the 2 Yaffiels that we do resolve at the end of turn, just making that damage disparity even more. Now, it looks like Suo is at 4 right now, but realistically, Suo is only at 2 to Ichi's 5, which gives Suo a lot of breathing room as well.
Yeah, see, we were joking about, we hope we don't heal a heal so our Clear Mind Nurse can actually be a booster. But at the same time, we're seeing the situation hey, we hit a heal and we still have Yaffiels to resolve. So we're going to go from 3 damage that we started a turn to 5 for our effects, and now we're going all the way back to 2 damage to our opponent's turn. This is still a very good position to be in, especially against a deck that has certain cards called Skull Dragon in their arsenal.
Yes, this is probably the best situation to be in. I think going to the topic you brought up earlier, there's in this situation, it's honestly there's no reason not to swing because they should know and be aware that Grand Blue can only survive for so long before they actually start losing. But this is a good situation to be in also because they're at 2 damage as you brought up. It's a lot of room. What is Grand Blue gonna do? They either have to go for another 4 quadruple like ghost ship play, or they have to go into Skull Dragons to start pushing.
I do like the play. Go ahead and discard that protect marker because what's a protect marker to Hamiel? Being able to discard that protect marker, hopefully pick up a better card in hand to guard with, or a better card in hand to start comboing off with as well. And we do see the Colombard being picked off there, and there's the Tommy Bros. Checking the top
Yes.
5 there. What do we find? Hopefully a Beatrice, hopefully another copy of Night Rose just to thin our deck by 1, hopefully increase the chances of us picking up those triggers. There's the Skull Dragon there going to the drop zone right away.
Yep. My favorite combination. My favorite combination.
Exactly.
Going from
Uh-oh.
Tommy into Skull Dragon.
Yeah, let me just look at top 5 cards in my deck. Oh, look, a Skull Dragon. Oh,
Drop
you're
it.
going to end the hand? Who said anything about hand?
We're dropping that thing. My favorite play is Tommying, grabbing what you need, using Greed Shade, and then grabbing the card. Like you can kind of Greed Shade this out. It's just a nice little. Oh, you can Greed Shade, grab a Tommy, and then you bring it to hand and use Tommy's skill to then check top 5, get the Skull Dragon, drop the Skull Dragon, and now you have a board set up.
My God. Toolboxing. Yay.
Yay! That's a Necrobone.
Speaking of toolboxing, there we go.
Yep.
It looks like Ichi's going for a big push here.
Oh,
Hopefully being able
there's
to
Skull Dragon.
not only push, but able to hopefully find some heal triggers along the way as well. Being able to push the disparity back from 2 to 5 and hopefully from 5 to 4, 5 to 3.
Yes. Honestly, any
Yeah, that
heal
Necrobone
here.
is strong.
Yes, it is a very fun card. It is. You discard what you don't need to bring to something to board that you do need. It is a very versatile and very useful card, and especially in V Premium, playing this at 3-4 copies is just so convenient in most situations. Especially since Night Rose constantly retires the board, so you want to be able to replenish it. Necrobone being one of the best cards to do that with.
And we've seen Necrobone especially in action in that one glimpse we saw with Prominence Core to be able to just keep enough deck to not deck out and still do your full turns.
Oh, another dragon. Sorry, I'm getting excited. I'm trying to keep my excitement, not getting too excited. Yes, Toku?
One of the coolest things I did note here is off of the Colombard effect to search for a card and put it into the drop zone, Ichi actually opted to just mill a copy of Night Rose, and it's really important that you get rid of these cards in your deck that just aren't effective in the matchup. Like grade 3 Night Rose, yeah, normally it'd be great to rewrite into your Vanguard to get more protect markers, to get more soul as well. But in this matchup, if you drive check a grade 3, that card is not doing too much for you.
Oh yes, 100%. It's shield that is shieldless, so you can't do anything with it. That's a very awesome point that you brought up. That's actually a very smart, very good competitive mindset right there.
Now, one thing I do want to point out in this specific matchup is we see Nasuo's deck run as many crits as possible because of Hamiel turns, because of the game plan. And he's got his Sentinel generation through his Vanguard rewriting. We've seen one Sentinel used that we got from Hamiel. We know we have one protect marker in hand from Gavriel. But that brings me to my point. Once you use that protect marker in this turn, more than likely to guard that Skull Dragon coming, or maybe even take it. We're still at 4. Who knows? Or 2 Skull Dragons now. Whoops. What do you do after that? Shield value is going to possibly start being a problem.
Gotta bring up that you guys noticed the double Beatrice, double Soul Blast into the dragon play there, but increasing that potential lethality of the dragons, getting that soul into the drop zone. There, HE over here has made a decision. I need to kill, and I need to kill fast.
Definitely brought it up very greatly. Yeah, it's definitely one of the most important things I saw from this turn from Ichi was Ichi realizing that I need to get rid of these cards that don't really help me win the game from my deck, so I'm going to go ahead and mill them out. I need as much cards in drop zone as possible, so instead of going for the Skull Dragon Beatrice, I'm actually going to go double Beatrice here to just definitely get those extra cards into the drop zone, just make that Skull Dragon just that little much bigger. And over on Suicide, I think we do know that Suo still has the 2 protect markers in hand, but going to go ahead and drop down 45k shield on the Vanguard swing there.
Is that Orange? Help me out here. Is that a one-to-pass?
So the Night Rose is 22 plus 13 plus 18. So that is a 40k attacking Vanguard right there. So I do think that is a 2 to pass. Because that is 45k shield.
Choosing to go all in, choosing to go first.
Oh, we missed it. But yeah,
that
that was a
was
high Vanguard. That was a high Vanguard there.
Now, this is something that I do want to bring up. The option, when you are presented the option of going all into the Vanguard, when you need that just that one crit plus another trigger to win the game there, do you normally take that as like, I love the fact that Ichi did choose to actually go all in here. We know that Suo, being a protect deck, is most like very likely to guard these big attacks just through the protect marker. So seeing that the way to guarantee, not really guarantee the way, but the best chance of winning was to play on the chance that you find that second trigger on your Vanguard swing. What do you guys have thoughts about that? Orange.
Ichi, go for
I was
Orange.
I was gonna say, so in this situation, the going all in was the way to go. And now knowing that Ichi can't kill, he has to go into the not swinging or just swinging at the rears, which is exactly what happened here. Keeping the Skull Dragon out for next turn. If they survive, they are ready with that Skull Dragon already on the board. Philip?
Yeah, another thing here is like gambling on seeing the another trigger to just end the game there was, a choice. Because you got to understand, like, there's 2 Skull Dragons on the board. If the critical was put on one of them, that one would have been PG. The other one could have been still taken. And we already know we have a, 29k booster on the board. You don't want that thing to be active easily. So we had to force our opponent to go, hey, you activate that ability through your own effects. I'm not going to make it easy on you. Because those Skull Dragons were not going to finish the game right there.
Yeah,
And
that was
I like the play. However, I do want to add, and I want your opinion here, Orange. Going all out, using those extra Beatrices to get as much power to the Skull Dragons, I agree to. But at the same time, unless you have another Night Rose in hand, was that really the right move? You have no soul now, which means if you manage to survive this turn, which granted will be hard, what is your next turn play?
Yeah, so Ichi made a decision, and that decision was, I'm gonna try and kill here. So it was in a sense it was the right play, because honestly, it had they hit the second crit, that actually would have finished off the game, and that was the play. It is a little bit unfortunate now, because yes, on their next turn, if they really truly want to make a full play here, they do need to ride up, and if they don't, they have to think about other ways to get cards out. And being only at 1 counterblast, they have to make a choice. Do I Calm Bard here, or do I Night Rose here? And they're going to have to Night Rose, which means those Skull Dragon attacks aren't going to be coming as heavily. But you'll notice we do still have a Skull Dragon on the board, which means there will be 1 dragon attacking. You can Negerbone the another dragon, and then you can start pushing there, use the Night Rose. So honestly, they'll be okay. It's going to be hard to getting out a 4th dragon after that, unless they reride.
And if you guys thought 129k booster was scary, we just saw Suo pick up the second copy of Carmine Nurse from the damage zone to go ahead and slap that behind the Yoff kill as well. We've got 2 29k boosters active and live. We do know that Suo did use 1 Heal Guardian. We do know that Suo did guard with 2 Heal Guardians. Will Suo find that fourth Heal Guardian to heal him out of 5, putting him back down to 4, and thus turning off the boost one more time? Philip, what do you think?
It's gonna be very interesting because we see immediately a Vanguard swing. We don't need those extra criticals like in the previous game plan. Our opponent is at 5. Hamiel is already swinging for lethal, but we're trying to eat as much cards out of hand. The thing I want to ask is, I believe we saw a second Night Rose rewrite, correct? So there should be about 2 protect markers maybe in hand, which means those 2 protect markers can guard the columns that are not Sentinel restrict, and then we use all of our shield value for Hamiel. But at the same time, using protect markers means an extra card out of hand, extra shield that is potentially could be used for that Hamiel turn. So I like what Suo is doing here. Swinging with Vanguard first, more than likely swinging with the non-Hamiel turn rear guard first. Eat as many perfect guards, eat as many cards out of hand as possible. That way, when Hamiel does swing, she is swinging hard.
Very hard, very hard.
This is a tough situation to be in because everything is lethal. Honestly, even the crits don't even matter at this point. It's all just about how much power are these columns and can you guard it?
Gabriel's effect's not helping this situation either.
Nope.
Yeah, that extra 10k to the front row in combination with like all of these like cards naturally gaining power as well. Hamiel being able to gain 15k from her own skill, Yafke being able to gain 3k from her own skill, all the Carmine nurses in the back row gaining 20k from their own skill. I hate to say it, but I think Ichi's out is actually based on Suwo drive checking the heal trigger here.
Or
I
crits, don't
agree.
forget, there's still crits.
Yup.
Tuka, you and me talked about this exact situation last week
Oh.
in Premium. And
That's
And there it is.
true.
And there it is.
Wow, the crits finishing it off there. Oh my goodness.
Tuka, you and me talked about this exact situation last week of doing the math and kind of predicting where the turn is going to go. You see what your opponent's capable of. There's no extra power hitting on Suwo's board anymore. Like, he's got the power he's going to get, maybe 20k more if he's hitting triggers, which means, all right, let me look at my hand and let me actually math it out. Hamiel's going to be swinging for this number. Gabriel's swinging for this number and can go up to 20 more. And then the other column is also decently big. Later, we looked at the hand and, we only have one protect marker, so there's a definite guard here and a definite guard here if we have a drop EG, because we know we run 4. I have all of these cards left now. What do they accumulate to number-wise? Do I have enough to guard that Hamiel? The answer is no. All right. So if they rip one trigger, one crit trigger ends the game because there's a Hamiel double critical. That crit trigger is going to make either Gavio double critical or the other column double critical. So we got to take it. We got to bank on that heal, and we got to bank on it on this swing. And that's basically what I think would happen.
Yep, I think you summed it up quite perfectly. Ichi looked at their hand. They saw, like, this is what I need to guard for this attack. I have to set aside this for this attack, and this could be for this attack. But the only way that I actually make it out of this turn, the only possible combination of like card arrangements in my deck is if that heal trigger is on top. So I will play for that heal trigger on top, and I will take the no guard here to be able to walk out of this turn alive and have one more chance at victory. Orange, what did you think about that game?
That was very fun to watch. You guys summed it up very well with the out being the heal trigger, because honestly, yeah, looking at it, if you don't have enough guard, you gotta take the Vanguard at the situation. You need every possible guard you can find to deal with the Hamiel. And it's very possible. I think that Hamiel was like what 86, 96. So it was getting pretty up there. It was literally a Skull Dragon with a Sentinel restrict.
Let's see here. So Hamiel on her own is a 12. Gabriel makes it a 22. Hamiel's own ability makes it a 37. Then you got a 57 plus 9, 68k overall with the booster. So am I missing? Was there any extra rescue checks that gave power that I missed? Because that it was a 68.
Yeah,
I think
68, 68, 78, 68, 78k, somewhere in between that.
Something,
But either way, you're asking a lot from your opponent. And like if your opponent wasn't able to get those big shield values that, like, although we were able to farm it up that last turn because we made the conscious decision to say, instead of farming, I'm going to see if I can push for game here. And that's what we saw off on Ichi's side. And Ichi played that, like, Ichi had a plan and Ichi played to that plan very well, saying, I am going to go for game here. I am going to put as many cards into the drop zone as possible. And like I pointed out, choosing to mill out extra copies of Night Rose, extra copies of Beatrice, like any cards of any grade 3 cards from your deck into the drop zone, just so you don't have the chance of drawing it, just so you don't have the chance of drive checking it, because these are cards that won't help you survive the Hamiel turn.
Agreed. Anything else that or?
But yeah, I think I kind of discussed a good bit of it. The game plan was set, as Toku brought up. Like, honestly, they did the best they could. They tried to kill, and it just wasn't enough there. And I guess the shield wasn't enough either. And there's only so much you can do, Grand Blue. Aside from the ghosties, there really isn't too many outs against a deck like this, unless you're running the Beatrice engine. But we have seen the game.
Exactly. I'm trying to stop myself from grinning because I know the second we go move on to the brackets, a certain man over here is gonna be a little bit happy.
Oh my goodness! Kagze managed to get out of top 8 into top 4. Kagze with that Aqua Force deck. Let's go. So yeah, we have in the semifinals, Kagze versus Toby Tcg. We're gonna get that salty run back from Toby. Let's see if Toby has done the research and is now able to take that win back from Kagze.
Hey. We also got that Bermuda Mirror match finally concluded as well. And guess who made it forward?
Prism!
We have the 2 Prisms still left here. We have one Prism in the first, which will be Kaze, and then we have also a Prism in the second matchup as well. So we'll see. There will be 1 Prism going to finals. Oh wait, no, actually no, there might be a chance there won't be. If both decks succeed, we won't see any Prisms in finals.
I do want to say both Shadow decks unfortunately didn't make it forward, if I'm seeing this correctly.
Yes. Because we have Aqua Force against Prism, which is the first bracket, and then we have Prism against Angel Feather, the second bracket. So yeah.
Cool narrative I want to bring up here is that in the semifinals, we have Toby Tcg from WCC. We have Kevin Cho from WCC. We have Suo from WCC. And we have the Wild Horse Kagze going up against the Titans that are WCC. Can we see Kagze bring it home for us?
See, Kagze is the outlier here when it comes to WCC, but this is also a very interesting. I want to see how this goes because you got to understand there's 2 Prism players. Prism very much represented. We talked about how WCC members have been taking Prism because they've tested it out. We've seen 3 carbon copy Prism decks here, but the people they're fighting are basically the anti-Prism. Both of these decks have outs against that deck. We've seen Glory do it, and we've talked about the Hamiel engine being able to do it. So this is just going to be very interesting to see. Overall, I'm excited.
I'm very excited.
Me too, 100%.
But let's bring our excitation down a bit as we get ready to go into a break. As we get ready for the semifinals, our top 4 players are about to play, but let's give them some time to get into the proper mental mindset as they get ready to flip those yellow cards we all love. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone, to V Premium VRO 2021. We just had one heck of a game from Suo and both Ichi. Everybody give them a round of applause for starting us off on today. Let's quickly give a recap of that game. So we had Suo playing Angel Feather and Ichi playing Grand Blue. Both very strong Protect decks in the format at the moment. But we see the usage of Hamiel going to a Protect deck, being able to nullify the benefits of Protect being able to block those really strong attacks.
The whole game was very much calculated from both players, and they were doing everything right. Like Ichi gambled a lot on his second grade 3 turn, trying to finish out the game with those Skull Dragons, because he exactly knew, hey, I'm at 5 damage. He doesn't need to do so many rescue checks anymore to get that Hamiel dangerous. She is already dangerous. So I gotta figure out a game plan for myself, and that game plan was in the form of multiple Skull Dragons.
Yep, exactly. We did notice that Suo did misride that first grade 3 ride, and then we saw like kind of like a little bit of a quiet turn and then just instantly into an aggro turn. So even though the misride happened, it still didn't stop the pressure. It didn't stop the momentum of Angel Feather just doing what Angel Feather wants to do. And we did see Gabriel fall into damage, the perfect scenario. It's like me, Angel Feather player. Oh, damage. I see a Gabriel. Let me go ahead and quickly place down this grade 2. Counterblast, grab that card, get my setup going. It's just such a nice toolbox, nice unique way of just grabbing your ride so you don't misride again.
Mm-hmm. Just like you mentioned. Now, we did manage to see a glimpse of what semifinals is going to look like. We do know that Kagze will be getting that revenge match from Toby Tcg. Going to go ahead and give Toby one more chance to try and beat out Maelstrom as we try and sneak into the finals there. If you're Toby, you know that the last time you played this matchup yesterday, you weren't able to guard all the attacks in Maelstrom, and with that Maelstrom Glory guard restriction was able to bring up. What's running through your mind right now? Obviously, one of like the big cards is guard with Ellie. You definitely want to prioritize those Ellies so much.
Another thing to prioritize. Go for it, Orange. I got it last time.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was going to say, honestly, this is one of those, like, do I hit enough defenses? Because we did see a lot of defenses being hit the last time we watched this match, and that actually helped survive just a little bit longer. But this will be another one of the situations. I gotta hit my defenses. I gotta find my Ellies. I gotta pop off. I can't remember the name of the grade 2, but that grade 2 that gets extra 15k power. Gotta get that stuff out of there. That's gonna be the little bits and pieces, little things to kind of help survive. But it would be very interesting. Go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, like that. It's gonna be come down to experience and coming down to how did the other game go. Like, I'm pretty sure Toby is gonna look at go, all right, I know that their first Maelstrom term is gonna be very, very big and strong. So that might be where it needs most of the guarding needs to happen with other units like the other crit triggers, the heal guardians, and save those Ellies and perfect guards for glory if it happens to hit the board again. Like, that matchup is gonna be very, very interesting to hear how the results are gonna go, because we won't be able to see it. Ain't that right?
Yep.
We'll be watching Suo once again, piloting Angel Feathers, hopefully able to rescue check his way all the way to the finals. Once again, playing against a WZC team member in Kevin Cho. Let's go ahead and check out the game. Let's Vanguard. Over on the left here, familiar face everybody knows and loves, Suo, Stephen Lee on that Angel Feather. Once again, going first, it looks like, against Kevin Cho with that tech card we talked about, that Sonata starter, being able to be the cute little edge, being able to push him out over his team member, Tyler Yu.
I'm still so shocked other players are not doing this. Like, this is the strat. This is how you're going to win games. Sonata's going to give you so much power and so much good luck. You're going to hit nothing but yellow, just like her yellow hair.
Honestly, yeah, they could have chose Vina, they could have chose Conan, but they went with Sonata, the best starter to pick in Bermuda.
And we do notice on Suo's ends of things, we do pick up that heal guardian for that defensive guarantee, but more importantly, to tell our opponent, even if you damage deny me, I do have ways of playing my game once I hit grade 3. Over on Kevin Cho's ends of things, yep, go ahead.
This is something that it's bringing up again. I talked about in the previous match is right targets. Both of these decks have honestly really, really good right targets, and almost anything they go into is going to benefit their deck. A lot of times the key pieces in certain decks are just good on rear guard. So if you have to ride on a Vanguard, it's like, well, I do this, but I don't have a choice.
And we actually do, just like you said, find that ride target from Kevin Cho's ends of thing, being able to ride into that clear to get that extra card in hand. And as we all know, every little bit of extra card in hand does help against the Hamiel turns there. So being able to get that free card from the draw there, like be it a trigger, be it another 10k, be it an LE, always a welcome sight to see. And speaking of triggers, we do see that first drive check being that perfect guard.
See, perfect guard's great and all, but hey, we're fighting against Hamiel. That perfect guard's going to be used for Gabriel or not at all, maybe.
Something I want to bring up here. Now, we did see that Rosa being found. Do your swing here. Give the Karen Blast. That way they can start searching. So Kevin starts searching for the more Prism units. Is it worth it?
I think it is worth it, in my opinion. As someone who plays Angel Feather, once Prism gets going, it's very hard to knock them down. So you do want to hit them hard when you can while their hand is small. That way, even one crit trigger that you find off your rescue checks is lethal on the Hamiel. And it actually does look like Kevin opted to no past the Salafiel swing there, saying, I know that I do need to take a lot of damage later in the game if it happens, so I'll actually opt to not take this damage for the plus regardless.
Exactly. I was about to bring that up. That's beautifully said. But I don't think, did Kevin do his homework? Did he watch Toby's match? Did he get a chance to hear what happened to Toby? This could be a double-edged sword where, Gabriel just preps a little bit more or not gives it that more stronger return. Granted, I don't see it happening, but I'm just pointing it out.
And there it is. We see the Lieselot being rode and calling that clear off the top of the deck. And there's the other partner in crime in Aqua being able to bounce that clear back to hand, get that extra draw, just get that extra one card draw, try and find more pieces as we go into another turn there. But what's important is that Kevin Cho has opted to actually put the Aqua in the front for the time being. Maybe we'll pull it back as to not give Suo a venue of attack and rear guards. But like I did say, in Suo's interest, I think it is good to push as hard as you can while Prism hasn't stabilized yet.
we've mentioned this combo, like these two cards work together so well. Aqua Lizla, they're just a pair match made in heaven, and they give Bermuda's so much goodness.
So Kevin Cho opts to swing here. We do know that Suo has the Heal Guardian in hand. And on Suo's ends of things, actually opting to not draw. We see another draw trigger off of the drive check. And on Suo's side of things, we do get the defensive as well. 20 to 19 still needs that 5k to guard. Will Suo choose to take this, or will Suo choose to guard it?
Well, he did take the Vanguard swing and got a heal trigger off, so it would be safe to say, like, why not take this? You were already comfortable going to 2 damage. This is basically just a free one.
Right, and here comes the Gabriel right there, getting that protect marker. Will we choose to actually go all in, pop down those Yophiels, pop down the Hamiel, get all those rescue check calls?
Oh? Yes, Yophiel. There you go.
There's the Yophiel, going to push us to that 3 damage we need for the Hamiel skill. Should we choose to resolve it this turn? What else is in our hand? Choosing to go up to 3, have the Gabriel still alive.
Kind of see here, depending on the trigger checks here, will kind of determine what kind of gameplay do you want to secure here. Is it worth going in with the Hamiel if you only see like maybe 1 or 2 triggers? And that's kind of the decision that will be seeing made here. Oh, there.
And was that a second Yophiel that we see going to be used there? And there's the Hamiel as well.
Yep.
Using the Hamiel there and choosing to call out the Salafiel, I believe. Yep, there it is. There's the Salafiel. Here's our first rescue check of the turn, and it is a heal trigger.
That is a good heal trigger.
Yeah, luckily we do have the Yophiels in our bind zone that we can still resolve. So just like we saw in the last game, this heal trigger in combination with the Yophiels is able to give us that big damage disparity that we saw last game as well.
It's very true. And still giving that 10k buff to good old Hamiel over there. So we'll still be seeing, even though it's like the heal, which is still awesome to see, we're going to be seeing that Hamiel just slowly getting beefier and beefier with every check.
And yeah, for those who don't know, the way that this works is every skill goes on standby before you resolve a damage application and a damage resolution. So Suo is taking that damage. That trigger does go off, but it does not go to the damage zone just yet until all of the rescue checks resolve here.
Oh, thank you for that explanation. I honestly was not aware of that.
So we were able to get 1 trigger onto the Hamiel there, and we still have the Gabriel skill to resolve there. I do see that Heal Guardian in hand, probably going to pick it up or push it back to the deck, and also that Gabriel, also another option to pick it up or push it back to the deck.
Uh-oh. Hello. Zoom in!
I do wonder, there is also the damager in hand. So, I mean, in the damage zone. So, possible it picked up the grade 2, the one that gets, the extra power with the being on 5 damage.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true as well.
Very strong turn. Like, Suo's going in for... That is one thing that I am actually giving Suo 100% props, because it's very noticeable. The man knows Gabriel, knows Angel Feather inside and out. He's not sitting there thinking, well, if I do this, I'm going to get this card and this is going to go there. He already knows, I'm going to call this, this is going to happen. There's a card there. Doom, boom. There's a card there. Boom, boom. He is so fluent, and that just comes with experience and knowing your deck inside and out, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and like this just goes to the experience of like having a very large, like a high skill caliber playtest group within WCC. I can definitely assume that Suo has definitely playtested this matchup a lot, the Gabriel into the Prism matchup, and I definitely do respect what Suo has opted to do, and that is to aggress the player while you still can. We do know that Kevin does have the 2 PGs in hand, but most importantly, we do know that Kevin hasn't been able to use Vert yet. So being able to destabilize your opponent with these very early Hamiel checks, with these very early swings, being able to push them to 3-4 damage in the early game, and then even if your opponent is able to just get that initial +5 off of the first Vert, every other attack could be close to lethal should you find those crit triggers on the next turn on your rescue checks.
I think in this situation, honestly, going to 2-3 damage would be a good spot for Kevin because Kevin needs the Counter Blast for the Vert, needs the Counter Blast for the Surge. Get as much of that of those like filter going through the decks. That way, they also can have a kind of more of an aggressive turn when we see those triple drives coming in.
And it looks like after resolving Gabrielle's skill, we choose to pick up the Gabrielle, put the heal back into the deck there. There's our first rescue check, and there's our second rescue check. We do find the critical to put on the Hamiel here. So at base, Hamiel will be doing at least 3 damage with its skill.
Don't forget also, we did activate 2 Hotfield this turn, and depending on the pattern of attacks, we could hit another heal, we could go to 2 damage, and now Hamiel is not activating. But at the same time, at the end of this turn, Suo is gonna be sitting at 1 damage.
And yeah, this is that big damage disparity that we talked about in the last game as well. Being able to get the 3 counterblasts to do such strong effects, but then being able to heal back down, and not only heal back down, but actually pick those cards back up to hand from next turn as well is just so strong.
I think my favorite part about all this is just the fact that you can put yourself up kind of like a limit break technique, right? And then go back down as you're like, okay, I'm at 1-2 damage, have fun.
And I always love these pattern of attacks. So Hamiel is going to be swinging in for big numbers, no sentinels, multiple criticals. So you swing at your other stuff first. You either take so many cards out of their hand, or you put them at higher damage. Like you're putting your opponent in a rock and a hard place situation instantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even on Kevin's end of things, we do see a very large grip there. And even though we have that very large grip, we're actually opting to take these smaller attacks, I'll put them, and small as they are, 22 and 29 are not attacks to really scoff at there. And then we still have the Hamiel to deal with as well, getting no defensive triggers. So once this Hamiel swings at 22, 32, 47 with that extra crit, doing 3 damage to Kevin here.
2 extra crits if we do the ability.
Yeah.
I think here not doing the ability is probably the better call. You want to make sure you have those Counter Blasts for another turn because they will be going back down to I think what 2 damage?
1 damage.
1 damage, exactly. So they're gonna need 2 more damage essentially. So, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but if the Prism player just sits there and says, "Yeah, I'm not gonna give you that," you're probably gonna be going up. Like Prism doesn't have an alternate win strategy. They're not gonna be sitting here going, "I'm gonna try to deck you out." Their whole shtick is 5 attacks, beat. I'm got a big hand, do 5 attacks again, big hand, 5 attacks again. So more than likely, once we go down to 1 damage on Suicide, we're gonna go immediately back up to 3 or 4 damage, or maybe even 5, depending on how much damage he wants to take.
Yeah, I think the ball is definitely on Kevin's court here. Once Sewell passes the turn back to Kevin, there's like a few lines that Kevin could do to try and damage deny, but it does look like Sewell is opting to not use Amiel's skill here, and thus putting Kevin in that situation of, do I take that 2 extra damage, or do I throw that PG down while I still can? And it looks like Kevin is actually opting not to use the PG and actually choosing to go straight up to 4 there.
I think the goal here is hoping to maybe potentially heal on the vert turn to kind of get a little bit of a lower back down, and they want to see the heal happen on the other end. There's the vert ride.
Ooh, and it looks like Kevin's actually kind of mulling on which kind of marker to go. But yeah, definitely chooses the Force 1 there.
Would Force 2 be a reasonable option?
You got decent enough numbers, but
yeah, like Philip says, the numbers are decent enough, but I don't think Suo is at that damage point where Force 2 is enough pressure or enough number or enough pressure to be able to make Force 2 that threatening, and then just having 2 small Force 2 attacks versus many large Force 1 attacks. It's that 1 damage, 2 damage disparity, but I think there's more usage out of the Force 1s at the moment, while Suo is only at 1 damage.
This is going to be a very important turn right now for Kevin. This is not just, I'm going to play my normal strategy, do everything that Prism wants to do. You're going to, of course, do that, because that is just an amazing plus engine. 6 cards plus the hand through that turn, through those combos. But at the same time, it's not going to be as simple. There's a Hamiel that stayed on board. You don't have removal through card effects. The only way to get rid of it is to swing at it. But at the same time, you're using one of your 5 attacks to get rid of a piece on the board. And maybe that's what Sewell was going for. Maybe he's baiting Kevin to, hey, can you swing at this so I don't have to take as much damage as you would probably give me?
Actually, a really good point. There's a chance that they may be holding another Hamule and they're just trying to get the the swings to just be less aggressive here.
Yeah, just like you said, like being able, because Hamiel is a card that I want to like kind of equate to Angel Feather card back in G and Nurse of Broken Heart. It's just a card with like a crosshair on its forehead. Once it hits the board, you want to get rid of it as soon as possible because you don't want it to, because it is a threat. You don't want it to stay on the board for as long as possible there. So I am expecting Kevin to swing at the Hamiel at least once, try and force Zuo to guard it, kind of like reveal Zuo's hand. Swing at it once. Do you have another copy? If you do, you'll probably let it go. Otherwise, you will be guarding it heavily, in which case Kevin could then start targeting it a lot more heavily, start going Vanguard into the Hamiel as well, even.
Now, we do have to remember the drive check for Suo was 2 Yapniel. That is basically saying, hey, whatever hits my damage zone, it's basically in my hand.
Yeah, just like you said. Whew. So
I really want to know what Rosa is
Yeah.
swinging at here. Like, the obvious
Same.
choice would be the Vanguard, but we just saw Kevin swing at the rear guard with Aqua.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you said there. It does look like Suo had opted to guard the attack, and we just won't be able to find out what it is, but I do expect that it was an attack into the Hamiel there. At the same time, going through Suo's mind as well, guard the attacks that are guardable and take the ones that aren't. So despite whichever unit that was attacking to, if you can guard it with one card, you may as well guard it with one card.
Exactly.
What I do love on Kevin's side of things is normally you will see a lot of players drop down those back row grade 1s to be able to boost with to make nicer numbers. But in this matchup specifically, those grade 1s are so important to stay in your hand that it is crucial for you to actually opt to not actually pick them, put them onto the board, but actually to keep them in your hand so you have these extra 10k guards going into your opponent's Hamiel turns. And that's just, like we said, that's just that experience coming in, understanding how to play against your opponent's deck.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, there's been so many times where I thought, do I even want to put a booster down at this point? This is a 10k shield in my hand. Don't I want to think about maybe guarding the Hamiel? And it's thinking about these plays, thinking about like I need the shield. I can't afford to put this card down. And thinking about these through to deal with the Angel Feather matchups is extremely crucial in order to get the W.
Yeah, like we saw Aqua there in that turn swing at the rear guard because there was no other card in the same column. Aqua was not getting her 5k to herself. She was just tanky swinger. She couldn't hit the Vanguard. She couldn't hit the Hamiel, so she had to swing at the rear guard, at least get one piece down. And exactly that, like, boosters are nice. They're going to give you a good enough push, but in a matchup like this, you need those 10k shields. It's not standard with everything is a 5k shield unless it's a trigger. No, we still have 10k grade 1s, and they are very, very important.
Yep, just like I said, so important. We look at Kevin's magazine in there, his little paper fan there, choosing to, off of Rose's skill, go ahead and pick up another grade 1 to the hand to guard with, and binding the Nectaria for that final push turn if it ever comes to happen.
It's still a 6+ deck. Like, it'll do its thing, but like we said, no boosters this time. That is the strategy. That is the choice of playstyle right now because it's gonna give him more survivability. You're still gonna do your 5 attacks. Some of them are gonna hit the Vanguard. Some of them are not gonna hit the Vanguard, but at least you're gonna get your full plus to your hand, and 2 Ellie's hitting the drive check is a good plus in my opinion.
That is good.
We all saw that at the same time. Getting that double Ellie so juicy on Kevin's ends of things.
The big question now is there any Ellie's in drop?
Well, you can always, guard with the Ellie normally, guard the Vanguard. It'll be then in drop and then use the second Ellie to guard the Hamiel within that situation.
You're not wrong, but you got to understand, we've seen Suo do patterns of attacks a little bit differently sometimes. Kevin's at 4 damage, which means that a Hamiel is already lethal. getting that alien drop zone, if Suo saw it as well, everybody saw it, which means if he can get enough power, if he can get the 5 damage, if he can get the pieces he needs, we're seeing the 70k double critical column coming in, and no Vanguard swings prior to that. No chance to actually discard that Ellie.
Yeah, I
true.
just want to point out how big Kevin's hand is. If you guys had the opportunity to see it on the sideways, it actually looked like Kevin was holding half of his deck in the hand. I think Kevin is very much prepared for this Hamiel turn. But like I said, from Suo's end of things, being able to push Kevin to that 4 damage, every crit trigger that you find out a rescue check here, you put the power on the Hamiel, but you put the crit onto any of your units, that then means every unit is a must guard.
Exactly, because that's probably the game plan here. It's more so just how far can we shred this hand down to potentially make there be very, very little small hand. Because all they need is a couple crits here, where Kevin's already at like 4 damage here.
Yeah, just like Kevin's already at 4 damage. Hamiel will get that bonus crit, and unfortunately, I believe that was the Gabriel's double rescue check there, not being able to get the yellow cards that we need to be able to push everything up to that 2 crit, where everything is a mandatory guard, and unfortunately unable to see the rescue checks going on there. But I do believe that it was 2 grade 1, so once again, no yellow cards coming from the side of those rescue checks. But also on Kevin's side, so many cards in hand. Like these other attacks here, like the Yothkiel attack, even if it had that crit, would be easily guarded. The Vanguard attack, if it had that extra crit, easily guarded, because we do know that Kevin still has those 2 PGs from early on in the game as well. And every other card in hand then can just be used to just slam it onto the table and just tell the Hamiel to go away.
This is very true.
We've seen that happen before in the mirror match. And you saw different fight. He had a really decent hand size, and then all of a sudden you go from I'm holding a book to I'm holding a pamphlet.
This is very true. It was honestly looking like the Hamiel could have been guarded. Perfect guard the other 2, and then honestly potentially survive the turn and try again to kill and kill and just go over again. Both these decks have really high early have a really late aggression, and that's what's kind of like where it starts. You start seeing the differences. Like, can you kill Prism before they start getting a bigger hand, or can you kill the Hamiel before they start lethality killing you?
And I think that's what we're about to see here. Are we able to get that Hamiel to that threatening number just enough that we can start, just like Philip said, turning that book into just a pamphlet, and in which case that way we're able to start tearing every turn, just keep tearing at that hand, and hopefully one of the turns will be what we need to push for game. Unfortunately, still nothing off those rescue checks.
That means filter. Like getting unlucky to not seeing any on the rescue checks is always sad. You would love to see them, but at the same time, every single rescue check that there's not a yellow card just means less cards and less cards and less normal units in deck, and everything's starting to slowly get pushed up. So eventually, there's going to be just a slew of yellow cards.
That is a very good point, Philip. That's something that I like to also note is just in general in decks like that. You see a normal unit, okay, that's 1 card closer to a potential critical right there. And I feel the same way like when I play Grey or Blue. I mill out 2 normal units and I'm thinking that's 1 step closer to a crit.
Exactly. And like even if we don't find any of those yellow cards going into a rescue check or damage zone for like just those extra crits, that just means that as Kevin, when you're sitting at 4 damage, when the opponent's Gabriel swings, there could be that crit on top now. We've gone through a lot of cards and we still haven't seen it. It just means that the likelihood then of being able to see one soon is just gets that much higher and higher. And it's something that's normally easily no guarded, as it's something that you want to take to play for the defensives and thus make the Hamiel easier. This becomes more threatening, and that's what we're seeing here over on Suo's ends of things. Going to swing with that Gabriel, boosted by the Zafiel for that 30k swing. Kevin chose deciding on how to guard this attack. We do know that Kevin does have the PGs in hands, and there's that first one being dropped there. Discarding from hand. What do we discard?
That hand.
Woo! That's a novel.
Oh my gosh!
It's a whole trilogy.
While we are not at 5 damage with Suo, and we do not have our Lil's tech card of a 29k booster, we still do have a 9k booster in the form of Serial over there. And while it's not 29, any amount of extra power helps just eat shield value.
What I do love on Kevin's ends of things there is go and discard the grade 2 for that PG, because like we said before, time and time again, the most important cards in this matchup will be the grade 1s. These will be like the normal users that have the best shields. Obviously, the disparity of being able to drive check triggers as you keep going through the game will help in guarding Hamiel. And that's why, as an Angel Feather, I think it is most imperative that you are able to destabilize the Prism player as early as possible. Because despite Hamiel being what Hamiel is, this was an easy 3-card guard from Kevin's ends of things.
Wow. And the book is still active. Another extra skill Prism has. I have book in hand.
But sooner or later, it's going to go down and keep going down. And Kevin's on a timer.
Yes, this is very true. The timer is Hamiel lethality coming in.
Let's break it down into like raw values as well. So Prism is able to very easily get 6 cards into hand each turn through the use of clear, through the triple drive, through the ability to bounce 2 cards from the front back into hand. If you're on the other side and you're unable to actually just keep taking out at least 6 cards from hand each turn, eventually you just get advantaged out of the game.
This is a very hard choice right now. You get a critical trigger off the top of Elizaleth. It's, well, I can put it in soul, guarantee my soul resources, or maybe I can even put it in the front row and bounce it back to hand. That's a 15k shield I can use for Hamiel. But
And
here,
honestly,
Kevin opted to put it in the back row behind the Vanguard.
yeah, it is interesting because honestly, you kind of want that shield, but with the book that we have, maybe we don't need that. Instead, want to have the Vert have the pressure of the triple drive. It is a 5k, so it does make an 18k attacker when Vert swings.
Yeah, exactly. With that 5, with that 8 in the front row, being able to hit that 13k magic number just to be able to hit into any Vanguard. But it looks like we actually opt to present the double front row Aqua to our opponent there, just swinging that much bit harder over at Suo's end of things. Like mentioned now that Suo has nothing face up in the damage zone.
Luckily, Gabriel is basically a Cannibalisk 1 counter charge 2 type of ability, which means just by having 1 open CB, we have basically 2 open CB to our disposal.
Exactly. And I do like Suo's decision here to just take all these attacks, get that 2 counterblast to play with, and these upcoming attacks to guard with.
And we got a Hamiel in our damage, which means we can grab it out of there and have it ready for our next turn.
And here comes that plussing engine, that well-oiled machine we kept rattling on about yesterday. Being able to get that +2 from bind to the board, having clear, being able to from our drop zone back to the bind, and the next turn from the bind to the board. And we do find 2 more copies of Vert there. And if you were on Kevin Cho's side of things and you were worried about your counter charge there, you do now have that extra copy of Vert to rewrite into. Then you can Soul Blast that extra copy. And if we have that Spiana in hand, there's the counter charge that we need.
This is very true. That's the counter charge is going to come very in handy if they survive another turn.
This is going to be the important turn. Like, that Yapkin is coming down the board, more than likely grabbing that Hamiel immediately.
Yep.
Immediately to the board.
Oh, another Hamiel.
No, that's just insurance there.
A bit of a timing issue there. That Hamiel definitely should have went into the hand first before being called down, so that double rescue check shouldn't have happened as it was. Luckily, there were no triggers, so no big state in the game change, but we'll let the judge decide that there. Unfortunately, still no yellow cards coming from Suo's ends of things. Hopefully, we're able to go through all of our rescue checks here and being able to find at least 2. 1 to put on the Vanguard, 1 to put on the Yofkiel there is all we need to threaten lethal on all attacks. But like we said, Kevin Cho's book is starting to become a thesaurus.
this is now the choice. Like you have 4 cards, and this is what I wanted to actually get to. I believe that's the right choice. Trying to get a Zophiel to hand. Zophiel is an amazing card. Not only does the rescue check, but also basically is a type of counter charger.
There's the
So
yellow.
you're currently in a position where you are at 5 damage now through Yophiel, which means you're going to stay at 5 damage unless you hit a heal. And more than likely, Hamiel is going to activate CB all or kind of use all of that open CB. So if you manage to, not kill them this turn and survive their next turn, now you're 5 cards face down in your damage zone. Your Hamiel play is kind of offline unless you can kind of do some, circus tricks with your damage zone.
And so much respect over on Suo's ends of things here, actually showing restraint to not immediately call down that Zophiel, because looking into the future here, Suo will use the Hamiel skill to put all the damage face down, and unless we have like another way of a counter blastless rescue in Zophiel, Salafiel, or the Bellyfold Mez Angel, which Suo does not opt to play, he would be played with no counterblast going into the next turn. So having that Zophiel for the next turn to get that 1 counterblast, which can then be turned into 2 counterblasts, which then can then be turned into 3 counterblasts through the use of Salafiel, is just such good playing for future turns as well.
Honestly, thinking ahead like that, because Angel Feather, what's a countercharger? You're countercharged by just constantly flipping your cards back and forth like that, and thinking ahead, preparing how many times do I need to flip my units face up in order to then again go into a Hamiel play?
Exactly. And a lot of times your Hamiel ability and your Yaphiel ability are a little bit of mirages because, yeah, sure, you're changing your damage, but you also did CB. So your damage zone face up, face down didn't much change. And you did plus, but that wasn't really a counter charge, even though, cards moved from damage.
And there we see the Hamiel skill being used. We didn't find that heal trigger off of the Gabriel check, so that 29k boost is live. It's time for this 29k boost to show its stuff. Kevin Cho is starting to filter through that book, finding which pages to tear out to throw down to guard this attack.
How
I'm
big
pretty
is this?
sure. I'm pretty sure with a book that big, we have a Spina in hand. Because if we don't, it's going to be a very hard turn for Kevin.
I
We
also
always
believe we have a Spiana in hand as well.
notice that they use the Ellie early on to then use the Ellie again to actually be able to guard the Hamiel attack a little bit easier with that 20k shield.
Exactly, so much foresight as well. And speaking of foresight, I do love Kevin's choice to actually intercept here, because as we go into the next turn as well, and we did notice that Suo is prepping for the next Hamiel turn as well, we have our grade ones in the back, but these are the grade ones we want back to our hand now. We might be looking to actually bounce those cards back to our hand through the use of Vert as well, being able to get that extra 20k from the board back into our hand, just another 20k to be able to guard the Hamiel with as well.
I
This is
think
also going to be very dangerous now because, granted, they are turned sideways. They are still force 1 markers, correct? But there's now 2 of them. Like every single attack just got a little bit more dangerous. And Suo is defy damage. There's no buffer damage you can take. There's no, you know, hey, I can kind of guard this attack. What is in his hand now is going to really dictate, can I even survive this turn?
honestly, also that intercept was actually that entire guard was really good because they could have called the intercept to call the Spina over it then, and then use the Spina skill to then go and cycle, which is what we're kind of waiting for here. The Spina cycle will help. Also notice that they guarded with a heal trigger to again potentially maybe cycle that, but we are seeing the vert cycle here.
The heal trickle cycle could work, but I believe what Kevin really wants to do here is push. Now, calling down the heal trigger and using it to cycle with Spina would have been good, but then you had a 20k heal trigger on a force marker boosted by possibly 8, which are decent numbers still, but hey, look at that. We have Aquas. Why not give 5k more?
Oh yeah, 100%. Aqua's definitely the better play here. Aqua becoming a 25k attacker just on her own.
Using Aqua here to be able to bounce that grade 1 back to hand. That's an extra 10k shield in hand, opting to choose the Lieselot to discard, which means that our effective hand value has gone up by 5. But then we call down another Aqua. We call down the Sedna here, being able to make that big 28 column with that 10k force marker as well.
All right, that is actually something I wanted to point out. Like, it is a very, very, very small nuance, but Sedna is a mandatory ability when she's called from hand. It's not something you can just weigh off and say, I'm not going to look at top 5. It is unfortunately something you have to do. It shuffles your deck. You look at top 5, it can change things around.
And there's the first attack coming in at 23-33 to the Vanguard. Each of these attacks will be lethal here, so Subo will be hanging on to his life with whatever is in that grip right now. Going to drop down that first protect marker, discarding from hand. What will it be? There's a lot of pieces you want to keep in hand. Actually choosing to discard the Yafgiel there. One of the ways of getting a plussing rescue check, but it does cost a counterblast, which is something we don't have a lot of now that we're at 5 damage there. And we're going to have Stu swing with Vert there, using the Vert, being able to plus those 2 cards back to hand. And we call down the clear as well, being able to bind 1 more Prism unit to get us another draw back into the hand as well. This is just so much plussing, so many cards in hand, being able to guard what is coming from Hamiel's side of things on the next turn.
How does Prism not deck out?
They do, but you also put cards back into deck. Like you put Ellie back, you put Vert back. You have like kind of like a little chance here. And this is a 31 attack here with triple drive.
Due to pass, luckily no yellow cards, so these numbers are going to stay the way they are. And I believe with the way Kevin has been guarding, this was one of the situations of knowing how many heals and everything. He might be have enough just to guard everything. I see a protect marker, and now, or maybe not.
30.
And it looks like Sewell has to play for the 6 damage heal. Unfortunately, does not find the 6 damage heal, but both players did play out of their mind. Everybody, please give them a round of applause. Kevin Cho versus Suo. The Prism versus the Angel Feather matchup. Definitely one of the more hard matchups for Garael, but Suo definitely played to his outs.
Man, that was intense.
That was a very intense match.
I got no words to say. That was so intense. But Toko, I need your opinion. Those situations, like, granted, triple drive still happens, so you don't know what they're gonna drive check. You don't know how many crit triggers or heal triggers or whatever's gonna happen. Do you do what just happened, or do you just take the first swing and hope for a heal already there and make the whole turn a little bit easier to guard?
I think with respect to the force markers on the rears, the attack that was the easiest to guard was actually the Vanguard. So yeah, I definitely do agree with Suo's decision there to guard the 30k attack and then play for that 6 damage heal, because we did have that extra protect marker in hand, which could unfortunately only guard one of those big attacks, and that is what we saw happen. Like, so big props to Suo for understanding what needed to happen for him to make it out of that turn. But I have to highlight Kevin's play that game, keeping those PGs so close to hand, even in the early game, not choosing to use them until it was critical to use them, having more grade 2s in hand to actually discard off of the PG. That way you're able to keep more of your grade 1s in hand. That was just so skillfully executed. And once again, not calling the grade 1s in the back row, just so you have an extra 30k in hand as well to guard with. Each of these small micro decisions, they all add up to be able to let you guard one Hamiel turn, to guard the next Hamiel turn, to guard the next Hamiel turn as well. Just splendid play from both players there. Orange, do you have anything to add?
Honestly, I feel exactly the same. That was very well thought out. I did notice that kind of once Prism started really getting their card hand going, it's just like, there comes a point where can you even break through that level of a Thesaurus? And that is kind of where these matchups start. You start seeing kind of the difference between matchups. Like, if you can't kill Prism fast enough, they do keep going. There really isn't much stopping them. They're going to keep getting those pluses. They keep getting those pluses. And every single turn you got to think, how do I break through this wall?
100% agreed. Like, it's just one of those things, and now we just get now it's the fun part. We know a Prism is going over to the finals, and who is the opponent?
Let's see.
Take a look at who the finals will be.
Wow!
Breathe.
This is a double. This will be a mirror versus mirror, Prism versus Prism matchup that will be going into here. Both with if I'm not mistaken, exact same decks at this point. So we'll have to see who will be able to out-Prism the book of the book.
Not the exact same deck. We do know that Kevin Cho does run that spicy tech. in
I was holding
Sonata.
myself back not to mention that. Why you?
The starter is important. The starter is this is correct. The starter is very important. Having a different starter can actually make the difference in who will take this W.
And just like
My
what
God,
Philip said, Sonata's yellow hair to find those yellow cards, that might be the big difference in being able to win in the mirror match there.
This is going to be an intense game because we've talked about this. We mentioned this so many times. These are decks that have been tested. These are players from the same, group. They've either played against each other or played with these decks more than enough. The decks are going to do what the decks are going to do. It is really going to come down to the players themselves, thinking ahead, strategy, doing the nuanced decisions we saw in the previous match in here is going to come so much in key. And it's really going to come down to skill and trigger luck. There's no two ways around it.
That's very true. Honestly, this will be kind of it'll come down to who gets the acceleration first, who gets that 16 card hand first, because the person that gets that will probably succeed in the situation, as they'll be constantly beating down the opponent with the lesser hand, and eventually will result in a loss. That's kind of how these mirror match with Prisms pretty much leads to.
Hold up, I just realized something. Hold up. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Every single game we have seen between yesterday and today with a Prism, have we ever seen Prism go first? Have we ever seen them just call one card out of bind zone instead of two?
We did see Prisms go first in the game against Kogze, but at that same time against Kogze was able to deny. So we did not see one card being called out of bind going first. We saw 0 card being called out of bind going first because of that counterblast denial. So despite being a Prism versus Prism mirror match, we will finally see what Prisms look like at their full potential going first. We'll definitely have to take a look.
Agreed. It'll be very interesting. That counterblasts, they do matter. So we'll have to see kind of how they play out, that early binding, if it's needed. Sometimes I ask myself, do I want to attack here? Give them that bind, that potential to start filtering starting from turn 2. Is it worth it? So you got to think about these things, because that's once that bind zone starts going, once they see that clear, that's it. It's gonna that drawing engine, it starts there.
There's so many things just pop in my head right now. It's like, oh, this can cap it, but oh wait, if this player does this, it's like, I need a small breather. I just need to collect my thoughts.
I think Phil needs a
We need
small
a breather.
break. I think the players need a small break before we get ready for finals. So I'm gonna swing you guys to a short break, and we will be ready to cast the finals of hashtag BRO 2021 LANA. We'll see you guys soon.
Now that Decklog is available, you can register your deck list for tournaments with ease. If you have not used Decklog before, no worries, we have a tutorial video. You can find both the links to Decklog and the tutorial in the description box. Now, due to the shenanigans from the last event, this time we will be introducing a new procedure into the tournament. We will be conducting spot checks by requesting a player in a room to show us that nobody is nearby to give them help, that there are no extra cards or suspicious items around. First, the players who will be checked are based on a highly scientific method employed by many entities and game designers all over the world. Hi Player 456, you have been chosen for a spot check through a fair and impartial system.
Oh, I've been selected? Okay. So first of all, this is my table, and as you can see, I'm playing Lyrical Monasterio. I love Lyrical Monasterio so much because the characters are so pretty and so cute. Okay, now I'll show you my room. So hi, this is the room that I usually play Venga in, and as you can see, there's no one else here but me.
Okay, good, thank you.
I'd like to show you Vanguard collection. I've been playing Vanguard ever since the first release, and I also have my showcase here. I have G series, V series, and Overdress.
Thank you
Not
for
only that, I
cooperating.
love Weiss Schwarz as well. I play Persona 5, and I have a lot of other collection over here, as you can see. Very nice, I know. Thank you.
Good to know we have such an enthusiastic fan. Anyway, there have not been any incidents where we found players cheating with external help, but we hope this extra layer of precaution will deter any attempts, as well as reassuring all participants. On a side note, please do not use your phone during the tournament. This has been a rule for physical tournaments all along, and it is not any different for online tournaments. Players caught using their phone during a match is considered an infraction. First infraction, you get a warning. Second infraction, you get disqualified.
We meet again.
Yes, but this time it will be a different fight.
Oh! Guard! Over Trigger! Please don't heal, please don't heal, please don't heal!
And the championship goes to Chris!
Okay, yeah, that was a good fight. Thank you for the game.
That match was so close. Thank you so much for the game as well.
So Judge, when will this game be uploaded to the official Bushiroad YouTube channel? I want to show my friends like the epic fight I just had with Chris.
Oh yeah, I want to show my friends too.
Because one of you used a playmat with a yellow rat and a blue turtle.
Actually, it's closer to a tortoise than a turtle.
As we can't show merchandise that isn't from Bushiroad, we can't upload the match. During our last tournament, there were a number of exciting matches that we think players would love to watch. However, because unofficial merchandise were used, we couldn't upload the videos. Non-official Bushiroad merchandise are not allowed in tournaments. This includes card sleeves, playmats, and any other objects appearing in your video. Dragon Shield and Ultra Pro generic sleeves with no art are allowed. If you do not have an official Bushiroad playmat, you can buy one at our Bushiroad online store. You can find the link in the description box below. We have a lot of beautiful card sleeves and deck boxes, all of which are allowed in the tournament. And from now till December 10th, if you use my code, you'll get 5% discount, 5, for all TCG related products. Use the code BROTHER2021. That's brother, not brother. BROTER 2021. While stocks last. Okay, fine. You can also flip over your playmat and play on it.
Hi everyone! So in order to distinguish between offline and online tournaments, we have rebranded it to Bushiroad Rumble Online, BRO or BRO for short.
That's right, if this is your first time participating, we've created a video with some rules and do's and don'ts to take note of.
We've also included some links to useful videos such as how to shuffle and how to prepare for a remote fight. And the links to all these videos will be available in the description box below.
That's right, please do take a look at the tournament page where there will be more detailed rules and information.
Alright, thank you!
Hope you guys have fun. See you there. Bye.
See you there! Bye bye! See you there, bro!
Bro.
Bro.
That's all we have for today's video, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. During Bushiroad Springfest Online, we had a lot of players, both new and experienced veterans, come into some of their first online tournament experiences through Remote Fight, and we got to see some amazing narratives develop. Some people start new chapters in their competitive history, some people start playing competitively for the first time ever, and I can't wait to see how these stories and the narratives of these players will further develop throughout Bushiroad Rumble Online. In case you don't already know, I will actually be commentating all of the Vanguard stages for Bushiroad Rumble Online, so I can't wait to see you guys in the chat for the tournament.
This couch I got on sale, it was like very cheap and it's very good as well. So I recommend you guys to go and get it. Not only that, I have a lot of Bushiroad posters. I love Bushiroad games. Oh my god, I'm so happy.
Weiss Schwarz! Time to make your move, little sister. Then I guess I'll attack your character. Aha! I saw that coming, and I'll counter your attack with me! Ruby, now coming to Weiss Schwarz. As an English edition original. Trial Deck Plus, Booster Pack, and Supply Set. On sale December 17th. Bushiroad!
My name's Ron Manankil. Lots of people know me as Shiro Neko. I am the BSFO AO champion, and I topped with Blade Master. Yeah. Actually, I was already planning ahead of the Blade Master loop when Soen was announced. I already started visionizing the deck. The problem was securing some premium parts, which was mainly the Tempesphere and Zazan. And in the end, I didn't even get to use them because I wasn't able to secure a set of each because our shop here only had 2 boxes of premium collection. So we weren't able to really gather parts. And so preparing for the event, I was just watching videos on like WCC and different fights channel on the meta and thinking of how I can counter that without using the vanilla engine and doing the turbo engine. And in the end, I also thought of the mirror match because thinking of the meta, you're obviously gonna encounter your own meta deck, and so to take the meta into account, you have to really think of the mirror match too. So yeah, that's how I prepared for BSFO. I actually participated in BCS starting 2017. I wasn't really a competitive player back then because I was really busy with other things like school competitions and other fights. But yeah, those were the only ones that I joined because BSFO, Springfest rather, was not really in my place. It was in the main city in Manila, so I wasn't really able to participate with that. But BCS, I participated yearly starting from 2017. Well, I think I met a lot of interesting people for sure. I met Kendo from Team Rising Dragons, and I met Derek Dow from WCC when he came here for BCS, and I also met like I made many friends through BCS because there are some players that don't join weekly tournaments, but when a huge event comes, you suddenly see all these people pop up. I would also want to give a shout out, by the way, to the BCS 2019 champion. He's also a Cebuano. He's one of the only people I know from Cebu that also won a Bushiroad event. I want to give him love. His name is Vince Del Rosario. I think he deserves more love than me because he wasn't able to actually go to Japan due to personal reasons. So I want to give him the spotlight too. I think for BSFO I was kind of like I was scared at first to join because as you said, it's through a webcam and like cheaters may pop up once or twice, but actually unexpectedly the judges were actually really well organized. They were monitoring the entire situation, and it was a pretty fun event actually. It was nice to participate through my own home, and I didn't have to go down or risk like getting COVID, especially now, to just join an event, which is really nice. It was really convenient. I posted in my Instagram story the progress through of like how the event went, and I was also watching the stream so I could like study the other decks that were on stream. It was pretty fun to like see everyone react to the Instagram story because not a lot of people knew about the event here. So it's pretty nice to see like people react and stuff. Well, my advice for BRO, if you're a seasoned player, I suggest you study the meta since it's a pretty Wild West meta right now, and literally anything could happen. And for new players, I would say don't be scared. Just do your best, and you know it's a free tournament. You win, you lose, you don't lose anything, so it's alright. Just calm down, and I'm rooting for all of you. Follow me on, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram. It's Hello Ishiro. Just hit me up if you guys want to chat, hang out, or even play remote fight. So thank you and good luck to everyone. I hope to see you all, and I hope to see everyone in top 8 also. Well, not everyone, but yeah. I hope everyone does well.
And we are back to the finals of Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021 for the V Premium format. The finals is going to be a Prism mirror between two WCC members. Let us see who. Are you still going?
So sorry. This is happening.
All right, now we're done.
But yeah. So the final is going to be that WCC mirror with that Prism list. Let's quickly run through what happened in the last round. We had Suo play against Kevin Cho, and Kevin Cho had that notebook on how to beat the deck, and quite literally a notebook in hand.
It was a very, very large notebook. Nice 100-page, like college-ruled notebook, ready to take on with that college competitive respect, just knowing exactly what to do, when to put down the rear guards, and how to enable the damage, how to deny the Hamiel. Just everything was just so well prepared, well thought out by both players. By the way, just really good stuff to see. Any comments, Philip?
Man, it was just it was a match of experience in its entirety. Both decks did exactly what they wanted to do. The players, it came down to the players. We could have seen Kevin Cho just do what Bermuda wants to do. Throw on boosters, swing with rear guards, plus back the hand, swing with new rear guards, just plus, do its thing. But he couldn't. He knew he was fighting against Hamiel, and he knew if he wasn't careful, that Hamiel was going to turn sideways with more than enough criticals to end the game, more than enough power to not be able to guard, to take his book, like I said, from a book to a pamphlet. But he prepared, didn't sacrifice too many boosters, kept those 10Ks in hand, saw the Ellies, prepped them properly, get every step of the way, everything right. And on the other side, Suo also did everything right. He pushed when he needed to push, put his opponent at high enough damage to where at some point, he didn't need to do so many rescue checks to see criticals on Hamiel. Hamiel was already swinging for lethal. Now just the other two columns had to be even more dangerous so that book would have been even smaller. Overall, it came down to just a little bit of a trigger look and just player skill, and props to Kevin.
Yeah, exactly, and especially in that matchup. Like I said, in the game, a lot of it will be determined if you are able to get kind of like negate the +6 that Prism will get each turn. If you're unable to just take that +6 and make it at least like a ±0, maybe like being able to hit 7 cards out of their hand, eventually you will just get tempoed out. But definitely big credits to Suo for playing that matchup very well as well. Now, I do have word that we are about to get ready into finals. Let's quickly give you guys just a quick rundown. This will be that Prism versus Prism mirror match, and the players are ready to play. So I'm ready for Vanguard. Philip, are you ready for Vanguard?
I gotta do so much cleanup later, but yes, I'm ready for Vanguard.
Orange, are you ready for Vanguard?
I'm ready for Vanguard!
Viewers, are you ready for Vanguard? Let's play Vanguard. This will be the finals of Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021. Prism versus Prism. Toby Tcg versus Kevin Cho. Toby able to get that revenge matchup against Kagze. I'm so excited.
Let's go.
Let's go. Ready to roll.
Yes! Oh, the blondes. They're back. The starters. They're here against each other.
So immediately you see on Toby's ends of things, choosing to ride into the Sedna, not being able to ride into clear, meaning we don't get that extra plus. Will Kevin Cho be able to ride into the clear to get that free plus to hand? We also see that Toby was not able to find any grade 3 off of the Sedna as well.
A big thing for Kevin is going to be, hey, does he have a Lizzle out right now? Because one of the ways to actually put Prism in a bind is just to put him at high enough damage to where, hey, now more swings are harder to guard, more swings are going to kill you, which means Lizzle early game rush might just be the way to go.
Oh, and just like you said, there's the Lizzle and there's the Ellie as well off of the top ropes.
Very beautiful to see Ellie that early, starting that on-hit pressure. And there is the clear.
Yeah, there's the clear over on Kevin's ends of things. And definitely have to also mention the fact that Toby does choose to call the Ellie behind the Vanguard just to make that attack that much more harder to guard and help increase the chances that Ellie will be able to resolve, have that in the drop zone, and then find another one into hand as well.
This is
Scrapping.
the way this game is already going. Just riding different grade ones is already showing that these two decks are going to be going in a little bit of different directions until they get the grade 3. Once they get the grade 3, it's going to be same old. But until then, like, things can change. Seeing different cards through the grade 3 searcher, seeing better cards, or even key pieces through the clear. Having Lizelot on one side, I don't see a Lizelot yet on this side.
This is very true, and we're about to see, like, is it worth, like, how far are they going to rush each other? If they rush each other, like, obviously Toby's side, it looks like they will be going in with the Lizelot for probably the upcoming turn.
And on Kevin's side, we do find the Sedna being put onto the board there, and we do find the Vert off of the Sedna, check 5. Just like all of you mentioned, do we have the Lizelot to also get that free +2 board? Philip, what do you think?
It's hard to say. Definitely, if Lizelot was in hand, this was the proper move to do. You want to try to get Sedna and see if there's a Vert on top, because if you Lizelot and you pop the Vert off the top, it's like, well, there's one last grade 3 I can ride. So we don't know yet, but we're about to find out very, very soon, because the turn is about to go from battle phase into damage, main phase to battle phase here soon enough. A thing I do want to point out, though, for Toby is the fact that he's set. If he's got an Aqua in hand, he's got a very good combo play on turn 2.
Well, there's the Lizelot.
And there it is. There's the Lizelot. There's the Vert, just like you said. Now, the benefit of having the Vert out this early is that being able to put the Vert out right in front of the Sedna as well means that this will be a 26k column swinging at your opponent's Vanguard, still sitting on only a grade 1 there, and also being a grade 3 sitting at... and we get the crit as well. 2 damage straight to Toby. No defensive triggers. Finds the Vert into the damage zone, swinging at a 36k at the opponent's Vanguard. We do find the Heal Guard in there, being able to -2 crit and just pass by the turn.
Those 2 Ellies in damage?
Sednas, I think.
Sednas, okay. I was going to say, it's unfortunate.
Kevin Cho has just went up the stairs all the way to the 2nd floor and left Toby on the ground floor.
But you also got to remember, 3 face-up counterblast to then play with all your cards that use a counterblast. We do see the ride into the Rosa there to find a copy of Rosa and also find a copy of Clear, potentially putting the Clear into the bind, the Rosa into the hand. That gives us another venue of advantage to hand, because Rosa is not a once per turn, so you are able to call a new copy to once again use the counterblast, filter your deck by 2 more, and increase the chance that you are able to find those heal triggers that you do so need.
We completely agree here. This is exactly what you want to do with having this many counterblasts to play. You can start filtering your deck as quickly as possible.
Man, I love Rosa exactly because of that exact reason. Not only are you getting cards that you need in bind zone, you're filtering your deck. You're making it smaller and keeping those key units, keeping those yellow cards in your deck, and increasing your chances of hitting them.
Now, I did make a small mistake there. It was not a Rosa picked off of the Rosa skill. It was the copy of Vert, however, which is really good to see, considering we did see one go into the damage zone. So at least we do know on Toby's ends of things that we do have the ride for their next turn there.
Knock on wood, we haven't seen any of the Prism decks yet have the G assist for their Vert, even though they are running 4. And we can definitely account to that to being a good run engine, because we have more than enough Sednas in there to search our Verts. We got Rosa to look at top set and search our Verts. The deck is very streamlined in that sense.
And Toby matching the aggression, crit for crit. Oh, and Kevin does get the heal trigger, but it is not live. This also activates the Ellie that was boosting the attack, being able to search another copy of Ellie. But I also do want to note that Toby was not able to find that Aqua in hand to be able to reuse that Lizelot for another +1 to board.
Man, both players are getting a lot of good stuff, but both players are also missing some of their... Like, there's always that, you would love for this to happen at this moment, but your deck's not always going to give it to you, so you got to play around it.
Exactly. Honestly, this is I wasn't expecting 2 crits on both sides like that. They're both pushing each other, pushing them in bad situations once they both ride to Verts. And here, honestly, having the advantage to go first is going to help with every ride on Vert. That's an extra force marker that we be adding to the board, adding more pressure each time.
God, I was a little bit worried about this mirror match and how this is going to play out, but I am not worrying about anymore. This is a very intense game. The way it started, it is going to show the players' skill, really make them think and go from here. Because when was the last time you went into grade 3 and you looked over your damage and was like, 3 cards over there already. Nifty.
And just like that, Kevin rides into the Rosa, and just mirroring what Toby does, hopefully being able to also get those 2 cards out of deck. But I can't help but also mention the fact that Kevin's Vert was able to stay on the board, which means this is an effective +1/2 board over the turn. Being able to swing that card one more time is just such huge tempo on Kevin's ends of things. Not having the card removed, whereas that Lieselot was able to get removed on that other side of things.
Did I just see just 1 card out of top 7? Did my eyes mistake me?
I think that is what you saw. Just 1 out of top 7.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't always hit.
That is actually a very good choice. Like, whenever you see that, it's like, do I put it a hand or do I put it a bind? And Kevin decided, yeah, this card is in bind zone much, much more worth than in my hand right now.
Another Setna coming in here. We don't. Oh, maybe we do see something.
Oh, if it's a Heal Guardian, that might be the right move to go for.
Yes. Dealing with Prism's turn. Though Prism's first grade 3 turn honestly isn't too painful, as you are down an attack, and usually you just call the clear. Clear becomes a 28 attacker on a force marker, so the turn's a little easier to deal with.
Exactly.
Oh, there it
so
is.
if you can put down a Heal Guardian, you're going to make that turn even easier to deal with. You're going to put yourself, in a good spot, not waste too many cards out of hand, and keep yourself at lower damage while they only get 4 swings on their first grade 3 turn. This might be the right
Exactly.
move to go for.
I can't help but agree. Yeah, just being able to get that Heal Guardian to hand not only is able to turn that Heal Guardian call Spiana combination live, because I think that will be the big deciding factor between this matchup is as each player's hand dwindles down and down as pieces start disappearing, the Spianas will start showing their stuff, like being able to recycle the Verts for the rerides, to be able to get bigger force markers than your opponent, being able to call a Spiana for recycling the Heal Guardians, being able to have more damage buffer to take because you have more heals active.
Exactly.
I think this is where we see it going happen.
And this is one of the few decks where they can recycle their Heal Guardians and be perfectly fine with it. So getting that top 5 search, bring that heal to hand, you're not worried. It's just going to go back to deck anyway.
And Toby's got a very, very hard choice right here. You staring at a barrel of 23 and a 26, and he's still at grade 2. Like, if that Ellie wasn't there, like, this would have been eating too much cards out of hand or putting him already to 4 damage.
And there's that Ellie just getting all that mileage in as well, being that Ellie called off of the Lieselot, being able to convert itself into an Ellie in hand, becoming that 20k shield for that Vert swing. Toby being able to walk away from this turn without taking any damage, able to have that 2 counterblast to play with that Vert skill there. Do we have an extra Prism in in drop to bind? Nothing, but we do have Vert skill to go ahead and bind that Rosa, put that into the bind zone, and we do have. Now the second question is, do we have a Prism in drop zone for Clear to be able to get us a draw?
Currently, there isn't one, but maybe there's a way to get one out potentially. Oh, there's the Ellie. Ellie is an on attack or boost on hit.
It's going to be a very, very hard turn right now for Toby. Like, is there any other Soul Blast in the deck outside of Vert? There isn't, is there? Oh,
No,
no.
there
Oh,
isn't.
no.
But they can go also into the Rosa counterblast, potentially get more filter going, and that might be the play here. It is still a card in hand and a card to the bind zone.
I'm a little bit more worried to hear the fact that we only see 1 rearguard.
It might mean that Toby has more pieces he wants to keep close to the hand, maybe more triggers that wouldn't be able to attack on that other column. But just like Orange mentioned, that Ellie is, or was that Phil, but that Ellie is on hit or boost. So that Ellie being alive, but at the same time, putting Kevin into that weird decision point. Do I let the Ellie hit and be able to search one? Or do I guard the Ellie but just still let the Vert be able to bounce it back to my opponent's hand? And in the end, we still see that Ellie in hand.
And opting to go for the Rosa, because like we mentioned, there's no prison targets in drop. So Clear would be very pointless to do right now. At least Rosa can get us some filter, get us some cards extra in hand. I do actually agree with this play.
Yeah, there's no other option in this situation, honestly. Like, there's no Nectaria, nothing to really do here. So going into the Rosa play is probably the best point.
And I can't help but mention as well that Toby now does have all his counterblast face down. So this is where that Spiana will come up huge if it is active. Like, we know that Toby was able to find one of the Verts. We do need a second Vert to be able to Soul Blast one to cycle it off of the Spiana as well. Otherwise, if Kevin Cho does read Toby's hand and kind of predicts that Toby didn't really call down anything, I don't see Spiana being able to call down to the front, because that was also an option that Toby could have done, was call the Spiana to the front, put the Ellie behind the Spiana to threaten that on-hit boost as well.
Man, we've seen Rosa happen twice on Toby's side, and now we've seen a triple drive with nothing yellow. That kind of sounds bad when you say it like that, but that just tells me how many triggers are in that deck. That seeing 3 cards on the drive check and none of them were triggers just means, okay, eventually something's gonna hit, and when it does, it's gonna hit hard. Now we got potential to hit defensive triggers easier. Now we got potential to hit offensive triggers easier.
And it looks like Kevin here is just deciding on whether to guard. At the same time, I feel like Toby is swinging at the rear guard here, because Kevin's been able to get so much mileage out of this Vert that happened to just pop out on turn 1 through the Lieselot skill. Being able to attack with it once, being able to attack with it twice. If it is to live on the next turn, Kevin will be able to attack with it 3 times, but also be able to bounce it back into hand if there is a Vert in hand as well to bounce back.
We do know he has a Heal Guardian, and we can use it easily and say -2 crit. No, we don't have to worry about it. But at the same time, it's like, we're going to need that 15k shield later in the game. Can we be at 4? What if we hit a heal and go back to 3? But we can do that at 3 and go back to 2.
I was thinking the same thing. Denying the heal is honestly probably not a bad idea here, but it does look like Kevin is thinking about guarding this attack. And we do, as you mentioned, there is a heal guardian in that hand to purposely prep for this, and there it goes.
Or not yet. Yes, no, maybe so. Who
Yep.
knows? There we go.
And going into Kevin's turn here, we see that board is like pretty much full.
Yep. You don't need to do anything. You can just, call a couple units, get that bind zone set up, and honestly just start swinging here. And you can bounce the Vert back for another reride.
Not to mention, I know there's a Rosa in drop, and we have a clear already in bind zone, so he is pretty much set.
That well-oiled machine is definitely looking really nice on Kevin's side here.
Yeah, we're about to see that card printer go burr. We're gonna have that Vert do the Soul Blast to bind one of the Prisms, get 2 Prisms into the bind zone. We already have a Prism in our drop zone to be able to bind for the draw off of clear. We also have that extra Counter Blast to be able to use a copy of the Rosa that comes out as well. Let's go ahead and see what Kevin does this turn. We're looking at 26 on one column. We're looking at 20 on another. And we're looking at, once again, another 26. But let's not forget about the fact that once that Rosa comes out, being able to buff that entire front row by that 10k, that 26 easily becomes a 36k. And these are incredibly scary numbers.
It's like we're running front triggers.
It's one of the beauties of Sedna. Like, why sometimes you just run Sedna with the Aqua just to make a 28k column or buff up your other attackers, because that extra 5k does go a long way.
I see Kevin here right now is contemplating. It might be a contemplation of, hey, should I make this Rosa a little bit bigger, or should I just keep this shield in hand?
Yeah, just like you said, maybe there's a world where putting that Rosa to be able to hit magic numbers will effectively push more cards out of Toby's hands, since this matchup, we don't have to deal with a lot of these guard restricts just like the last one. But it does look like Kevin opts to actually go straight into the attack phase there to swing with the Rosa for a nice 20k at the Vanguard. It's easy 10k to guard.
Very
That's
true.
probably a
That's very true.
confirmation there from the other players. Like, hey, do you got any Prism and drop? Yeah, I do. It's right here.
This attack here, being kind of small, still something to consider. Do I guard this attack? Do I take it? Because then it shuts down the Vert.
Toby actually chooses to take the damage, which kind of signals I don't think Toby has this Spiana in hand there. Being able to take that damage initially will let Toby do their thing on the next turn.
Comes the Verts, bouncing back, looking at the bind zone, picking 2, using the skill to look at top 7, while also using the clear skill, doing the usual.
So right here, using Rosa's skill is telling me, hey, Kevin is communicating to Toby, yeah, I got a Spiana.
Yep.
Yeah, just like you said, Kevin is communicating, I have the Spiana. I think we also know that Kevin does have an extra copy. Kevin definitely has an extra copy of Vert in hand as well. So we do know that Vert rewrite over Vert, Soul Blast the Vert, cycle the Spiana, cycle the Vert back into the deck through the use of Spiana to get the counter charge that we need to keep our engine going, is what we're going to see here. There's that first crit.
Yellow.
Oh, not
There's
that
the
crit.
second crit.
Oh, that's
all
2 lethal
attacks
columns.
lethal. I'm looking at 38 here.
2 have to, I must guard attacks coming through right here.
That is oh my god, that is a 30k shield out of hand.
There's the LE effectively being a 20k shield, but we need another 10k. Do we have it? We also have the Rosa
so one more 5k and an intercept is going to do it.
Yeah, and there's
there
that
it
extra
is.
10k. There's the Rosa swinging with also
10,
that
20,
crit and
30,
also
40.
the 10k.
40
Yep,
double
40.
critical.
Yeah,
Yep.
and there's that 30k. Oh, wow.
That is one way to shred the hand. The stuff like
See-
this is like, we have to take this.
See, this is just showing, like, Kevin had a really strong turn, and Toby was able to guard because of what Prism can do, like, build that hand, be able to guard potential. But the fact that I'm understanding is this is now just a flipped situation. Toby is now on the offensive, and he can do almost a very similar push turn. But at the same time, Kevin has that hand potential for all these guards. Like, this is going to go back and forth, and one player is just going to run out of steam.
It's a very interesting to opt to bring that Vert back to hand here.
Yep, using the Lieselot using the Lieselot to call the Vert off the top of the deck, and then using the Aqua to actually bounce the Vert back to hand and discard it immediately as well. Might have a signal that we were able to draw an extra copy of the Vert, and just having that Vert in the drop zone means that any Spianas we find in the future will be live. Let's see what Toby can do to try and match the aggression that Kevin was able to front the last turn.
Right now, the Lieselot isn't really hitting for too much because Macareer. Yep.
Granted, this might have been changed. Like, if you're going to put Rosa in the back row, we might have just changed the columns around and have Lieselot marker and Aqua with Rosa on the back just to activate her ability.
Oh, and there is Kevin's signature trademark college textbook. Look at that size of that
it's
hand.
Back.
Oh
it's
my
back.
Getting that defensive draw trigger as well, getting that free card into hand, sitting at a very pretty 23 defensive.
That book is back. We saw that book. We're seeing it again. A nice college level education here. Oh.
And unlike Kevin, Toby doesn't have that extra CB to use Rosa to add himself one more card to hand, to deck fin, to do all those things. He's just getting the extra plus from clear.
Yes. Also, Toby's isn't quite college level textbook material here. We're looking at like a little bit of a less, just a regular book.
He had to go to practice. He had to skip some classes because he had to go to basketball games and all that.
I can't help but notice as well is that we just happened to see Kevin Cho's face down damage, and Kevin Cho was able to get a defensive trigger on almost every damage taken this game at the moment.
Trigger luck, man. Trigger luck.
One. Oh, we do find another Ellie. It's good to see. We do
There's a
find
crit.
one crit as well. Just
More
like
pressure.
last. Do we find the second crit to make everything lethal? We don't, but we
Nope.
do have that Spiana for that next turn. Very good to see on Toby's ends of things. Definitely going to go ahead and swing with the crit first. Force more cards out of Kevin's hands. Sitting at a base 23. I'm looking at 20, 30, 40. Yep, so do we have that 20k in hand for shield? I do remember an Ellie in the early game, but I feel like Kevin does want to keep it, so we're going to go ahead and drop. Oh,
53.
Actually choosing to drop straight to 53. And there's the rearguard attack. Why give Kevin 2 counterblasts to play with when I'm looking to kill him from 4 to 6? And that is what Toby kind of signaled. We're going to go ahead and get that rewrite into the second copy of Vert. Going to go ahead and immediately use the skill to Soul Blast the second copy of Vert, put it into the drop zone. Keep that Spiana alive in hand if we do need that extra counterblast as well.
Well-oiled machine. This thing keeps going and going and going.
Oh,
It's
oh,
not gonna stop
here comes the
anytime
heal.
soon.
Here comes the heal. Where's the Spiana? Yep, there's the
heal.
Spiana.
There's the Spiana. Going to go ahead and cycle that heal back into the deck. And once we get into this kind of cycle, it is hard for Toby to try and out damage Kevin, because Kevin will effectively have at all times one more heal in deck than his opponent, being able to bounce it back to hand, being able to drive check it on a triple drive as well, meaning that it is live now that we do match damage with Toby 4-4. Being able to then guard once again with one of the heal triggers, guard with something else.
Hold up.
Call down the heal, call down the Spiana.
Hold up, Espiana she's not a hard one to turn. You can bounce her with Aqua,
Yes.
and if you have another heal, you can do holy.
Yeah, you can keep doing it. You can keep doing it. That's what I'm saying. You can guard with these early and then just start cycling them back into deck. It's great. It's free 99 merchandise here.
And what a huge back row. What a huge back row. Triple Senna across the back with the full board. These are all sitting at a hefty 13k with these 10k front row rear guards. Heal Guardian sitting at 10 with that force marker at 20. Aqua sitting at 15 due to her effect with that force marker 25. I'm looking at 38. I'm looking at 33. These are big attacks. What do you think, Philip?
It is going to be a onslaught of a turn. And my big question right now is, we've seen a heal trigger go back to deck. Do you take the attacks before the Vanguard to kind of prevent your opponent from healing and possibly get a defensive?
That's exactly what you do. That's exactly what you do. You don't want, you see those heal triggers going back to deck. The last thing you want to see is the healing going back down.
Yeah, and just like that, that's what we do see from Toby Tcg, opting to take that 5th damage to make sure Kevin does not get that free heal that was put back to deck, just to push that damage disparity even more, because we do know that at least one of these attacks will be taking. I don't want to be 5-3, I'd rather be 5-4.
I've been put in these situations multiple times when you look at your hand state and you're like, well, I have enough shield, but I have to want to pass a Vanguard. And I've been in those situations so many times. I'm hoping Toby's not, that we're not in this situation right now. But sometimes this happens and you just got to gamble on one to pass on a triple drive after deck thinning so much.
Oh, yeah, that's scary. That is going to be a 36k. No, I think even higher. 36k attacking triple drive here.
Like, you maximizing shield value as much. Like, whenever something swings at you and it's like a 5 card, you don't want to waste a 15k on it. You want to try keeping those shield values just right, so you have as much as possible. And seeing that Ellie drop that early is that's what's being communicated to me.
Yeah, just like that, we're going to go ahead and get that big 36k. Oh, and it looks like we're going to have to go ahead and set aside the cards for the guards. Do we have the PG for the Vanguard swing? Do we have enough to guard all 3 attacks?
Yeah, this is going to get really close. I have a feeling we're going to have to see a 1 or 2 to pass here. Potentially a PG, as you were mentioning.
Now, like we did say before, Kevin Cho was able to get all 4 of that damage to be damage triggers. There might be a chance. Oh, taking the no guard. They're finding the crit. It's 2 damage, 6 damage, not a heal. And that will be the game. Ladies and gentlemen, your champion of Bushiroad Rumble Online 2021 for the V Premium format will be Kevin Cho, thanks to the use of the Sonata starter. Everybody, please give both players a round of applause.
Good job, everybody. Very good stuff.
Wow. Immediately, Philip, I want to ask you, like, what were your big impressions of that game? I have a few impressions myself, but please let me know.
I said it at the beginning. This is a mirror match of decks that are exactly the same, of players from the same team that probably either played against each other a couple times or maybe even talked to each other. Like, they know this matchup, which means it came down to player actual skill level and triggers. And we saw it right here. Both of them are doing everything right. There is no denying their skill level is deserving to be in where they are right now. But Kevin Cho saw more blessings from the Trigger God, and that early pressure, that early rush with the critical, putting Toby at 3 damage that fast. Like, that's where the game, in my opinion, was really put to Kevin's side. It could have still changed as more of the game went, but at that point, Kevin had the advantage.
Honestly, that was I was kind of wondering. I was like, the real momentum started changing when you saw kind of like who started picking up the pace faster, and we did see that on Toby's side, the pace was a lot slower. The aggression wasn't as there as quickly as Kevin was able to see. Kevin was constantly keeping Toby on their toes, and Toby was just trying to keep up, trying to get their oil machine going. But that was intense. That crit, I was not expecting that no guard. I was like, okay, they could PG this, hard guard the calls, but that into that no guard, going in with the crits, oh, what a sight to see.
Yeah, I think you two summed it up quite perfectly. It was definitely what we definitely did see in this mirror match. Though the decks were the same, there was a lot of momentum, a lot of tempo differences. Kevin being able to call that attacker off of the Lieselot herself being an attacker as well. Swinging at a 26 while your opponent is still only 8k, you are forcing out one of those heal guardians already, and then your opponent not being able to crack back at it means that card is able to once again attack again at 26k, because like we said, Bermuda Triangle is not a deck that has very strong control options. Once a card stays on board, unless you attack it and swing over it, it's going to stay on board, and that's what we did see. And I do think that was probably the main difference leading towards Kevin's victory today.
Not to mention that one move from Kevin to use Sedna, look at the top 5 and grab that heal guardian. Yes, I could keep it in deck. Yes, I could hit it and actually heal. But right now, in this moment, I probably needed more in hand. And while more than likely I'm predicting Kevin, in Kevin's mentality, he was like, he's probably going to go for a full 4 attack. This heal guardian is going to help. And it didn't happen. It's like, all right, readjust. Let's guard this one and keep this heal guardian just in case if we really need to, guard those extra attacks. And we saw that Rosa come in with a very scary number.
This is very true. It's very true. Honestly, another thing to note is Kevin had those beautiful grade 3 back row searchers all hitting for 13k, but we noticed that Toby defensing those so early on that's another thing of pressure that was just being that lower pressure, because other cards don't gain that power buff aside from Aqua, but having the Sedna and the Aqua for those 28, 38, 48k attacking rear guards, vanguards every single turn was just something that was just, how do you keep up with something like that? It eventually comes to a point where it's like these numbers are getting too high for me.
Yeah, definitely nothing to take away from Toby's performance as well. Being able to get the revenge match against Kogze, being able to get himself into the finals, and B, being able to play so well despite having that tempo disparity, knowing what to attack, knowing when to attack, knowing to take that 5th damage to not let Kevin get that extra heal from deck should it happen, knowing that he did have to hit that 6 damage heal. Toby's mind was playing out of his mind as well. But big congratulations to Kevin Cho. Let's take a look at Kevin Cho's journey through the top 8 bracket.
Very excited to see kind of how this played out.
Man.
Whew. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you point that out, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin had the very, very fortunate circumstance of having to face 2 Bermuda decks, 2 mirror matches in top 8.
This is very true. All WCC members, mind you.
Yeah, big shout out to Kevin Cho for being the WCC killer. In round 1 of the top 8, WCC Kevin Cho versus Tyler Yu. That was a team kill. In the next match, Kevin Cho versus Suwo. Once again, a team kill. In the finals, Kevin Cho versus Toby Tcg. Once again, a team kill. Kevin.
Oh, you know what this tells me? This man did not just win himself 4 copies of Chrono Jet and a box of E-Clan Collection. But this man has won something even much more greater, in my opinion. He has won WCC bragging rights.
Exactly. I do believe that this will be Kevin Cho's 10th title as well. So big congrats to Kevin Cho getting into that double digits.
That is very excited to see. I wonder if he's going to be labeled now the WCC killer, the SmackDown.
But definitely not to take away from the other players of the top 8 as well. Big shout outs to Cogze being able to bring that Rogue Maelstrom deck all the way to semis. Big shout outs to Nyat Huedang being able to bring Luard into top 8 as well. Philip, do you have anyone else to shout out?
Every single one of these players, like the fact that they got into top 8 is an achievement. It's not nothing to scoff at. Like, yeah, okay, maybe didn't get to second, third, fourth place. It doesn't matter. You have managed to get into the top 8 out of, what, 300 some odd people? That is an achievement of its own, and I don't care what anybody else says. But I want to give one more shout out to Cogze. Like, not only the whole Rogue match, like you said, the man has went undefeated inside of rounds. That is also not something easily done.
Agreed.
Definitely big shoutouts to our runner-up in Toby Tcg as well, being able to get past Adrian, playing the Shadow Paladin, being to get that revenge match against Cogze, and then once again being able to get to semifinals using Prisms and being able to strut his stuff on stream multiple times now using the Prism against Kevin Cho.
I do want to bring up, though, the other kind of people. Like, we've talked about Kevin, we've talked about Toby, and we've talked about all the WCCs that have brought Prism. But I do want to give another huge shout out to everybody else in the top 8 that's not been playing Prism. Like, it's easy to come in with a very, very strong meta deck. And not to give them any discredit, they are skilled players. So a skilled player plus a meta deck, of course, we're going to see these results. But the other players, Grand Blue, Angel Feather, Aquaforce, even Luard, making it all the way up here with those decks, knowing what your strong suits are, knowing what your weaknesses are, and then adapting to the playstyle, like it goes to show, like, Vanguard might be a luck-based game, but skill will take you far.
Yes, very much agreed. And just also want to give a big thank you to everybody that participated, and especially the top 8 today. It was very exciting to see. Toku?
Yeah, just like you said, big shout outs to everyone who played today in the top 8. Everyone played their hearts out. Everyone played out of their minds. Definitely understood what they needed to do to win. Definitely understood what their opponent needed to do to win. Tried to play around that. Everyone just played so well, and it was just great to be able to have everyone observe that on stream as well. So thank you to everyone who played today.
Yes.
Thank you.
What an amazing 2 days. My heart's still pumping. I'm just sorry. My heart's still pumping.
All right.
Now, we do have Kevin Cho in call with us now for the winner's interview. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to your NALA BRO 2021 V Premium Champion, Kevin Cho.
Welcome, Kevin.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
That was intense.
Quite. Yeah, I'm out of my mind.
Kevin, give me your current feelings. How do you feel now that you have won?
Now that I've won, I feel amazing. I started this week off really discouraged from losing in top 8 last week in premium, and I feel I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful.
I gotta know, you guys have tested this deck. It's no surprise that it's a well-oiled machine. It runs, it does what it wants to do. And with that being said, you have to have been prepared for mirror matches just like this. But did you expect you're gonna fight twice against the same exact deck in top 8?
I definitely did. I expected, Prism's power level is just so much greater than it can deal with everything. So you have to be ready to fight the mirrors, of course.
Did you what made you decide like, hey, I'm gonna take Prism today? Because I did notice that some WCC members did bring other decks such as Angel Feather, Highlander Prism. What made you say, I'm picking Prism for this one?
Okay, well, it's actually because of my losses in the earlier BSFO earlier this year. I wasn't able to complete my Prism deck back then. I was missing one vert in the mail. So I had to play Spectre Duke, and all I did my only losses was to Prism. And so I decided I have to build this deck. Yeah, it's as long as it's legal, it's defense and offense, it's way too good.
Now, Kevin.
The man says as long as it's legal.
Yeah, as long as it's legal.
Now, Kevin, I do know that this is your 10th title, correct?
My 10th win in
Yeah.
Bushiroad events? Yeah.
Yeah, so big congratulations to you on getting those double digits. But most importantly, I do know that last week, a lot of the WCC members was playing that Nightmare Dolls brew that I believe that you had actually concocted. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Simon and Mark won with that deck, my boys. And I made it with Derek Dow. We made it together. But it was the Rollock thing was my idea, but everything else, was together, bro.
Now, I do want to bring it back into V Premium. Was this something that you also brewed for the team to all use all at once? Is there someone that you want to shout out for like this big Prism idea?
Oh, I absolutely, I have to thank my training partner, Toby, bro. Toby, the fellow I faced in
so
finals.
You actually had a practice match for the finals.
Yep. That man, he saw that I was down last week from losing in top 8. He messaged me. He's like, I will train you in V Premium. So I have to thank him, bro. I have to. He showed me all the tricks for everything.
Wow.
My God. Now, I know this is probably a trade secret and you don't want to really share it, but Prism is a strong deck. What were you most afraid of actually facing on the other side? Was it a mirror match? Was it a specific deck? We've seen Aquaforce, we've seen Angel Feather both having good strategies to combat that Prism. Any thoughts?
Oh, like counter picks? Definitely, yeah. There's Melody and Spectre Duke are two that I really think about, like are really solid counter picks in my opinion. Melody, because their numbers are too big, so your extra 20k shields and Ellie don't actually help out as much. And Spectre Duke, because basically they have this weird mix of advantage, which is big hand size, and like you don't want to give them the damage, but you kind of need to give them damage, of course. So yeah, those are the two decks in my opinion that give it the most trouble.
Do you think with Prism staying legal potentially, are you going to keep playing with this deck, or maybe they think about taking something else? Is there any other decks that are kind of in your radar?
On my radar? Oh, I definitely want to test more with the Highlander version of this deck, because I didn't test enough with the Highlander version. That's why I didn't play it. But versusing it, it's really strong if it works. Like it deck thins much harder than this deck, and its endgame is a lot stronger. It just has better utility. But like I said, I didn't have the experience with it, so I didn't want to play it. But yeah, that's what I.
That's great to hear your insight on a lot of this, Kevin. I do have one last question for you now, and that is, you've done well in V, you've done well in Premium, you've done well in Premium as well. I do want to talk about your preparation going into these kind of events. Like, how did you prepare yourself to go into V Premium here? Like, you talked how after making it to top 8 last week, still feeling down, at what kind of stuff did you do, like for everyone else like watching as well? Like, what kind of tips do you have for people to try and mentally prepare themselves, and like matchup specific like preparations? What kind of preparations did you do going into this weekend?
I think the best thing you can do is to just fight the best people that you know. As much as you fight, just your friends, just fight the best player you know, the best person in the room, so that you can continuously get better. Like, don't be afraid to ask whoever like you consider as one of the best players that you know. Because a lot of people are like get a little intimidated, but it's all about improvement. It's all about improvement. So
So Kevin, you want to play sometime?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna hit up your DMs then. I want to get some Prism mirrors in as well.
Yeah, somebody drop my Discord tag. I'm gonna.
But Kevin, thank you so much for hopping on to this interview with us. It was very great to hear your insight as well. And once again, big congratulations on winning this weekend's V Premium BRO tournament, and also big congratulations on your 10th Bushiroad win.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. Like, this interview was great.
Okay.
All right.
So for those of you so excited about BRO 2021 events, fret not, because we are not done with Bushiroad Rumble Online. Week 1, we had Premium, and Week 2, we had V Premium. But that's not all. Orange, why don't you tell us what we have upcoming in the next 2 weeks?
Oh, on week 3, we have Overdress. That's right, Overdress. The current most active Cardfight Vanguard format will be coming in. We have the Swiss Day 1, and we have Top 8, Top 16, and Day 2. And then after that, we also, for week 4, have Weiss Schwarz, which is also very exciting. We have the Swiss rounds in Day 1, and then we'll have the Top 8, Top 16 for Day 2. And that is the schedule. That's what we got coming up. It's very exciting stuff.
Man, next year is going to start off with a really good bang.
I think that's the best way to put it. 2022 will be a very big year for Bushiroad Rumble 2021. Now, before we close off here, obviously we got to give some big thanks here. Philip, do you have anyone to thank?
I would like to thank my poor health. But outside of that, like, I do want to thank a lot of people. I want to thank every single participant again for making it the effort. Like, you got to understand, regionals was, in a sense, easy. You had to just drive over there, get registered, and play. While this is taking out the driving aspect, you are at home. You have to have this setup. You have to have just enough lighting, see the board, get all this preparation done. And we've had 200 some odd people last week and 300 some odd people make that effort to do it. So I want to thank every single one of them. And then I want to thank every single one of the judges that were participating, making sure everything's running smoothly. All of the organizers, everybody who's been running it, the person in our ears who's been leading us through this whole thing, making sure we don't mess up.
Yeah. I also want to thank the viewers at home that have been watching this amazing event, whether it's this week or last week, or watching all the other regions. We also got EU and AO. You guys have been here supporting, watching the chat, watching all this just very awesome stuff. The people on Twitter have been hashtagging BRO 2021, having a fun time, putting out the memes, or just talking about your experiences, your success going from round to round to round. It's been amazing to see. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with us during these amazing rounds, amazing top 8s.
And definitely one last big thank you to each and every one of you watching. Thank you to each and every one of you listening in your ears right now, for the production staff. Elephant being able to produce all of these like really cool graphics for the viewers to understand everything as well. It's just so much has been put into this event, and for you guys to be able to be part of this witness is just so good. And I think that's all we have to say left about Bushiroad Rumble 2021 for the V Premium format. I'll let everyone say their closing statements. Philip?
One more thank you. Thank you for spelling my name right. Right there. Anyway, yes, I've been Philip from the channel Top Deck Heroes. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm going to shoot it right over there.
Yeah, to the Peel side. Thank you so much. This has been Outer Orange, and I got my channel Outer Orange. I want to thank you guys so much for having me today. It's been an honor to be here. So thank you so much. Toku, look this way.
And I am Toku from Yellowcard VG over on Twitter and on YouTube and on Twitch, ITS Toku TV. This has been a pleasure to be able to cast for you. And that's it from us. We are signing out.